Today we're going to talk about the Cube implementation, how we can build our Cisco Cube, which is another SBC solution. Cisco Cube is nothing but Cisco Unified Session Border Controller. Yeah. Again, for in terms of your side, there'll be another review of your direct routing configuration. The way we did for audio course and ribbon, we will have to follow similar steps and finish that. Only extra thing will be we will have a cube configuration in this. Rest all like your voice routing policy, user configuration, including the Telio side configuration, almost similar. So you can just take it as a review of your direct routing configuration. We're gonna start from the same step. So this will be our topology. You have a Teams client, Teams. This will be your Azure hosted Cisco CSR cloud service router. Cisco offers the same router image in the cloud. They call it a CSR. There are CSR 1000V, 8000V, different series available. We would be taking an 8000 series. Then this is our PSTN. Okay. In terms of Teams admin center configuration, most of the configurations are same. So you need to add the SBC. I'm going to be adding SBC as sbc03.aj-collab.com. SBC01 was our audio codes, 02 was ribbon, 03 will be cube. Then we need to add a voice route that can be .star, then route that into the SBC. PSTN usage record. This time I'll be replicating San Francisco location because Texas location we had our audio codes. New York location we implemented ribbon, and for the new location I'll be building something San Francisco. For the San Francisco we will have Cisco Cube. Then of course voice routing policy and dial plan. So if you look at this figure, that itself will tell you the complete picture how the call will be routed. So if you look at this, we have a .star voice route, which is like anything. Then .star voice route will be going towards spc03.aj-collab.com, and we call it as San Fran's voice route. That San Fran's voice route will have a linking factor, which is your San Fran's PSTN usage record that will be connected to your voice routing policy. So I have a San Fran's voice routing policy. This is assigned to the user. That should be fine to make it work, but as a best practice, we'll always have a dial plan, because in future if you need any translations, we will be leveraging the dial plan to do that. So we have a transparent dial plan, which is .star $1. That means you dial anything, I will match as it is. So that is what the dial plan. So we plan that as a San Fran's dial plan, that also assigned to the user. So if you have a voice route and a dial plan assigned to the user, always the dial plan will take preference of matching initially. Once dial plan normalize the number into a whatever number you want, then next process will be done by voice routing policy. Then the voice route will, it will be voice route. The way dial plan reaches voice route will be of course through voice routing policy, because once it matches, it checks okay whether you are able to dial the number which is there in voice route and then route the call. So we have seen this multiple times for audio codes, ribbon. We have seen, so similar step we will be doing for Cisco as well. And then yeah, so let's see from that point. First thing, add an SBC in Microsoft Teams. Let's do that. On the voice side, direct routing, we have two SBCs as of now. We're gonna be adding third one. Add sbc03.aj-collab.com. The only thing is you need to enable this and make it 5061. Save it. That's it. As simple as that. No much headache on that. One sec. And then we need a voice route, which is .star. That means anything, then point that to the SBC. So let's go to voice route. We have New York PSTN voice route. Similar to that, I'll create San Fran PSTN voice route. San Fran PSTN voice route. It's going to be priority 1 dot star, and the SBC I'm going to be adding will be our third SBC. Apply. Now we need a PSTN usage record. For that, we will add a new PSTN usage record. San Fran PSTN. 1 second, I'm getting a message from someone. It's a bit urgent. San Fran PSTN usage record, and just enable that. Save and apply. Hit save. So your voice route is ready. Then you need a PSTN usage record is ready. Voice routing policy. So let's go to settings and policy, custom policy, voice routing, and I'll copy this name. This is going to be San Fran voice routing policy. Then link the PSTN usage record. So for San Fran voice routing policy, I'm connecting San Fran PSTN usage record. That's where it reaches the SBC. Now, optionally, we need a dial plan. We can configure the dial plan also. Again, going back to settings and policies, custom policies, dial plan. What we have here is Texas dial plan direct routing. So for San Fran, I will copy the same name and edit that. San Fran dial plan direct routing. And we are just adding a transparent pattern, which is match all, and that's going to be advanced. Then open bracket, close bracket, inside dot star. That means anything within a set. And here I'm going to be calling $1. That means you repeat whatever you have in the first match column. Again, we have done this many times. If you wanted to review this, we have a deep dive session for regular expression. You can watch that video. Save it. So your dial plan is also ready. There is already policy named for San Fran. Is it? 1 second. San Fran. I'll just name it as San Francisco, complete name, but that is confusing. I might have created in the past and not deleted it. Saved it. So I'll go back to dial plan. Oh yeah, so there is a San Fran dial plan already present. Okay, so let's see what is inside, which is the same $1. So we don't need the new one that I have created, San Francisco. I'll delete it just to keep it clean. I don't need this. We already have a San Fran in the account. So this would be the dial plan I'll be using. Now, next thing is this section is over. We will see remaining one. Enable the user for direct routing. That means for enabling a user, we need to validate the license. Make sure enterprise voice will be enabled. DID number should be assigned. Emergency location, assign voice routing policy, and assign dial plan. All those things needs to be considered for the user. So let's start from that point itself. On the 365 admin center, let us make sure we have proper license assigned to the user. And I'm going to be using the same user, Will Smith, for testing this as well. We have done the same test on the same user ribbon. Similar user, I mean same user, I'll be taking it. So Will Smith is the user. And in terms of licensing side, what we need is basic Teams license and Teams phone system license. So I have a new bundle now called Microsoft Teams Essential with Phone. Like I said, we have started our class few months ago. Usually you get 2 months of time for one license. After the 2 months, it get expired. Once it is expired, there are different bundles available. So we can start with Microsoft 365 E5, that is one option. Then Office 365 E5, that's also having basic Teams and phone system. Then this is another option called Microsoft Teams Essential with Phone. What happened inside that is it provides Teams basic license and phone system license just one item. So just like Teams E5 and 365 E5, E5 will have a lot of licenses along with the Microsoft Teams and phone system. This is like a smaller or trimmed down version of Teams license. This will be the price for this one will be comparatively less. What I usually do is once I exhaust all my licensing option, like a different bundle, I can use it. As long as Teams and phone system available, I can take that trial, run it for 2 months. And that way you can almost extend your lab up to 8 months. After that, you don't have any trial bundle option. So in that case, you go ahead and purchase one number if you wanted to maintain the same lab. Otherwise, you sign up for a new tenant and then get going with that. So more or less, in that case, I would recommend if you're planning to purchase a license from Microsoft, this will be the easiest and cheapest one. Microsoft Teams Essential with Phone. Okay, what happened to my mouse? Yeah, sorry. Essential with Phone. This would be comparatively less cost and a good license with Teams phone system as well as basic Teams. So good for us, all our practice, this would be enough. So I have this one, I paid for this, I pay 2 license quantity. So further all the classes, I will have just 2 licenses of this one, which is a paid license. So if you expand the app section, we can double confirm the Teams elements inside. So you can see Microsoft Teams, that's the basic Teams license. And then phone system, Microsoft 365 phone system. Those are already there in the Teams Essential with Phone license. So that's the license assigned to the user. So in terms of 365 Admin Center, that's the only thing we need to confirm. Then let's go to the Teams Admin Center, look into the user for his or her enterprise voice. So this is the account. Make sure you have, normally when you come in here, that will be disabled. You enable that enterprise voice, and once you enable the enterprise voice, you can get assign number option there, which is like this, and assign the same number. I'm assigning the same number what we have with the Twilio, or what if you want a new number from Twilio, you can purchase it, but I don't want to take that. I'll go with 614-500-6235. That's the DID number from Twilio, one of the DID numbers from Twilio. I use that. I mean, I use the same thing for ribbon testing as well. I'm not modifying. Instead of the emergency location, you can move this guy into our San Fran emergency location. And of course, I have already added the San Fran emergency address when we were discussing about our emergency calling things, right? So at that moment, I added 3 sites, 3 locations actually, Texas, New York, and San Fran. So this is the one that I have selected, applied. Done. So license enterprise voice done. Now let's talk about policy. We need to move this user into San Fran's policy. So voice routing policy, let's remove this from default, global default into San Fran voice routing policy, and then dial plan. So currently this user with a New York dial plan direct routing. So let's edit that to San Fran's direct routing dial plan. Apply, confirm. So user configuration is done. Now you can go and validate your Teams dial pad on Teams app. We have done that again multiple times. I'm not doing it. Once you log into the Teams, you should be able to see the dial pad on that particular user. We have seen the same user yesterday, so there is no more changes on that. And next piece is working on the DNS records. If you have seen our first video of direct routing, we have implemented all these for that. It's just the same thing. Underscore SIP. This is an SRV record. We need to add in the domain, which is aj-collab.com, right? You need to go there and add all these DNS records. We have that completed in our first class, but we still need to, we'll take a review. First class in the direct routing first class, we have done that. If you go to the aj-collab.com, this is my domain. Manage DNS. You can see those elements here. Yeah, this one. SIP dir.online, then this SRV record. Those are already added. You can review our audio codes video to see that. And just easy, you just need to add that record, and then whatever you have displayed on the table, you need to populate that. So this is also completed, so I can skip this. Now let's look into the interesting part of our Azure infrastructure. So we're going to be hosting our cube. That's our next task. We need to deploy the cube inside Azure, and let's see how are we going to deploy it. So, okay. So if you look at this, these are our subnets. We have one VNet, that's our East US VNet, and then multiple subnet, right? External subnet, and then management subnet, some internal and stuff like that. So we will deploy our cube in this external subnet. Cube is also having different way of deployment, like dual NIC and single NIC deployment. But usually in the Azure Wizard, if you deploy, you will only get one NIC. If you wanted to have an additional NIC, you can add that later. But let's go with simple approach. So there will be only one NIC, which I will be keeping inside the Internet East US subnet itself. And of course, that comes along with a network security group. We need to configure that, what protocols and ports allowed, we need to configure it. And of course, there is an NSG for the subnet level, which is already present. We may have to customize it according to the cube requirement. Then the Azure will offer you a public IP address. You need to give that or map that IP address into a domain name, which is like sbc03.aj-collab.com. So Microsoft will be sending SIP traffic to that. Tilio will be sending SIP traffic to that. You will be basically sending SSH traffic to that. So the way we manage Cube is purely on CLI. Cube does not have a proper GUI. It offers a GUI, I'll show you that, but it does not have a completely manageable kind of web interface. Even their web interface got a lot of vulnerabilities. Even if you enable, you get some infosec notification saying that this vulnerability, all those things. So far Cisco does not have any graphical interface to manage. Everything has to be done from the CLI. That's one of the one of the toughest point what I see when I compare the Cisco Cube along with other SBCs in the market. Almost all other SBC got a nice graphical interface, and their primary configuration points are that particular web interface, but unfortunately Cisco doesn't have that. I'm still not sure why Cisco is not developing a graphical interface for the cube. Alright, so that's a part. I'm sorry, there is a small typo here. I kept it as ribbon VM. It's not ribbon VM, it's Cisco VM. It's cube VM. I was modifying the diagram, so I messed it up. So simple thing, just deploy a Cisco cube in the Internet East US subnet. That's it. You can forget other subnets and things from this diagram. So this will be our infrastructure, and we have used a similar approach for other SBCs as well. In audio course, we kept one interface here and one interface here because we were doing local media optimization and media bypass there. That's the only reason we went for that dual NIC configuration. For ribbon, we kept one interface here, one interface here. That's how they deploy. That's the image hard-coded deployment process. It comes with that. And we never even use the management interface. In Cube, we will go with just one NIC, and then that will be inside the East US, Internet East US subnet on this side. Is this diagram clear, guys? Yes, no? Hope you guys are there. Okay.
Yes, Vijay.
All right. Thank you. So let's see how we can do that. So of course, you head over to your Azure portal, go to virtual machine, sorry, marketplace, search for marketplace here. If you see the marketplace already here in the favorite section, you can go there. And recent update, what I have seen is if you cannot find Cube here, previously when you search for SBC, I was able to find Cisco Cube inside this list. But now, not sure why the listing got impacted. You don't see that. Even if you search for Cisco Cube, you don't see it. Just Cisco will have other images like their Viptala images and identity service engine, few things. These are the Cisco's own images, but we still don't see the Cisco Cloud Service Router or the virtual cube router in this. Okay, so that could be a kind of time related issues. Maybe after a few months or few days that will be sorted. So if you're watching me after a few months on a video, you try to search here, you might find it. If not, what we have done is I have separately given the link of that image in our learning portal. So go to our enterprise voice section here and you can see Cisco Virtual Cube Azure Marketplace link. It is listed in the marketplace, but we don't see in the Azure portal once we log in. We can directly open this link and get that from here. So I'll copy this URL, then open a new tab, paste it. So this is the virtual cube, Cisco Virtual Cube. Click on get it now. Usually what happens, you will be able to list that cube here. You can get going from that point, but only during this time. I mean, recently I don't see that one here. So let's go to this link, Cisco Virtual Cube, get it now. And you have to enter your admin credential here, which is tn@aj-collab.com. And always deploy the latest version. So there are two versions at this point, 17.9 and 17.12. So let's go with the latest one. I tried the other one. It has some bug. It might not boot always. So go with the latest option. That would be the all bug fix solution. Click get it now. Now this will be loaded inside your existing account. Oh, what happened? Okay. Okay. Yeah, some graphical issues. Anyway, so you select the 17.12 version, that's the latest one. Then this will be redirecting to your already logged in Azure section. I have already logged into Azure in this tab. So this will, I mean, you have to use the same account. This will load this image in the Azure deployment wizard. Then it's like another VM deployment process. You can just click next and finish. So make sure it is 17.12 here. Again, in future, if you're watching me in a video, make sure you select the highest one. Click create. Now, this is a familiar interface. We have seen this many times for configuring VMs. This is the VM deployment wizard in Azure. This is the subscription and resource group. I'm going to be adding a new resource group, RG Cube 03. RG audio code 01 was the first one for audio codes. RG ribbon 02 we created for ribbon. RG cube 03 we are creating it for cube. Then the name also I'll use cube 03. The reason I'm using 03 because that's a third SBC, not like third cube SBC or total third one. You can pick any name, doesn't matter. Go with the same data center, no availability, standard. This is the image. Fine. If you wanted to run with spot instance, you can only for lab. Select the size. I'll go with E2SB3 and select username and password. I have a keyboard issue, right? So let me just always copy paste things instead of typing in. Second. So I'll copy the credential from here because when I type R, it takes twice. And if I'm typing some password, password, come on. Yeah. User01. Fine. That's how it is. Then click next. You can go with standard HDD. Then next. Inside networking, we replicate the same topology, right? So we're going to deploy this one inside Internet East US subnet. Okay, so we select the VNet, which is our VN01 East US. Within that VNet, we will select our Internet East US subnet. So let's see that here. Select the VN East US and subnet will be Internet East US. The IP address going to be 172.21 1 dot something. Of course, you need a public IP address, which is CUBE03 IP. That's the public IP address name. Keep it default. And then they are going to create a network security group also for you, which is CUBE03 NSG. Let's keep that. And delete this IP when NIC is, when the VM is getting deleted. Let's enable that. So the NIC will be also get deleted when you delete the VM. So this is important here. There will be a default NSG created by Cisco Wizard or the Cube Wizard. So let us keep that. We have to customize this a bit after creation. Not load balancing, nothing. So after that, nothing on the management monitoring advanced. You can go to tags. In the tag, we followed the name, which is CUBE03. Next, review and create. Create. This will deploy the Cisco Cube router within Azure and later we can access it. Now, like I said, the Cube will not offer you any web interface. They will, but still you can't do much on that interface. So the primary management for Cube will be an SSH. So you will have to customize your network security group according to that. So let's see what rules we need in our network security group. So as usual, when you deploy anything, there will be a subnet level network security group because this comes under in this subnet. So there will be a default, not default, the NSG that we created in our first Azure classes. For every subnet, we created a dedicated network security group. This is that. Then the wizard itself will push one network security group. They call it as oh, sorry. Again, there is a typo error here. It is not here. There is not in subnet. So they call it as CUBE03 NSG. This is the NSG. They will be deploying. We will see that in a moment. Now, what protocols we need? Of course, we need the 5061. That can be UDP or TCP. So we select any. And few things are optional here. So you can allow it, or if you don't want, you can. For example, 5060. I'm not running any 5060 traffic here. So I will skip that. Then the media port range. This is needed. That's for Cisco IP ranges 16,384 to 32,767. That's for Cisco media range. That is different in audio codes. That is different in ribbon. We have seen those ranges as well. You can always check the vendor documentation to see what ports are dedicated for media. So for Cube, these are the port numbers. Then optionally, you can allow 443 and 80 if you wanted to access the web interface of Cube. Again, optional. Then most importantly, port number 22, that's your SSH port number, that is needed. So here, excuse me, the major components are excuse me, I'm sorry, 5061, then the media and port number 22. So that should be on the subnet level. I think we have pretty much the range already configured on the subnet level. SSH we can check it. And then there will be a cube NSG created by the wizard. There also you need to allow 5061, then the media and port number 22. Optionally, if you want 443, you can also add a assign 443 there. Okay. So let us inspect what we have currently and then we'll try to match with this firewall rule set. So deployment is completed. Let's go back home and go to virtual machine. This is your cube which is running. So let's inspect the NIC card to see what are the ports configured on inside that. So in the network settings, this is the, I have only one interface. Okay, so there is no confusion here. This is the subnet level NSG. You can see that attached to the subnet SN Internet East US, NSG SN Internet East US. So subnet level NSG, we have already configured, allowed SSH in the past, HTTP, HTTPS, SIP TCP UDP, media, which is 6000 to 65535. This is the media we allowed for our audio codes. That's a large range. So the Cisco range is a smaller one. So that goes inside that. So you can keep this one as it is, or if you want to match with Cisco, you can. But I'll do one thing. We have one more NSG right on the NIC level. There I will just map it for whatever Cisco requires. So these are for, media is also configured. Yeah, this is for the subnet level. Whatever you configure within that subnet, they will have this rules already. Like the NSG is always like a gateways, right? First it comes to the subnet level NSG. If that opens up, they goes to the NIC level NSG, which is what we have shown here. So the traffic will be coming this pattern. So this is coming in. First it will check, okay, what is allowed in the subnet level. Then whatever allowed, then it again go and check in the NIC level NSG. Then only it goes to the actual NIC card. Okay. So for this case, the subnet level, which is already configured for other SBC. So we are good. We don't need to modify that. On the NIC level, let's see. So if I scroll down, you can see a new NSG. This is got created during the deployment wizard. You can see that attached to the network interface cube 03. Then the other is a random number. Okay. This is attached to this VM on the NIC itself, and they only allowed SSH. So at this point, you can access the SSH interface of Cube without any configuration, additional configuration. Reason being, you have SSH allowed in the subnet. You have SSH allowed in the NIC side. So you should be able to access it. Let's try that. So copy this IP. Then you have to use the software called, any terminal software. There is something called Patti. I usually say Putti because Patti in Malayalam means it's dog. So let's go with Putti now. So open it and Terraform, Secure CRT, not Terraform, Terraterm, Secure CRT, and many tools are available for accessing this. So common one and free one will be Putti. You can go and download Putti or Patti from Google and then try to SSH to it. And you are getting it. Yeah, accept it. User 01. So you have successfully logged into the Cube router. If you type show version, you can see that iOS XE and then version 12 virtual XE router. Okay. So this is the virtual edition of Cisco router. You have configured that completely. Now, not only SSH is required, right? If you look at the NIC level NSG, you don't have media allowed here. You don't have SIP protocol allowed here. So that means nobody would be able to send a SIP traffic or a media traffic inside that. So let us add that, create a new rule, inbound rule. We'll try to match up with this table. So we need 5061, that's for secure SIP. So let's say 5061 any, that will be SIP TCP UDP, because I'm selecting any here, so this can be TCP or UDP. SIP will work on both. But of course, when it comes to secure SIP, it is always TCP because TLS is always TCP. Add. That's one rule. The next one is our media 16,384 to 32,767. So let's add that. 16,384 to 32,767. And this will be always UDP because it's a media traffic. So let's say media and media. Configure it. And you might be asking, okay, why media range is different in the subnet level and that is different in the NIC level. So in the NIC level, I have 16,000 this range. Subnet level, I have a larger range. This one we have configured for audio codes since that is a large range because it goes all the way up to 65,000 from 6,000 to 65,000. Our range what we have is 16,000 to 32,000. So this comes under that large range. So I can still keep the NIC as it is and then configure a separate one. I mean, limit that on the NIC level. Okay, that's on the media. And now the most important 22 is already there, right? So you don't need to add that. So 22 is pre-added. So these are important, but I'll also add our HTTP just to test few things. Okay. So let us add 443. That's completely optional. So let's add HTTPS. Add. Because during the certificate installation, there is an easiest way of verifying the certificate through using the web interface. So that's the only reason I have allowed HTTPS here. It's completely your choice. If you don't want to allow, you can disable that. So we configured our network security group and we also properly logged into our CUBE router. Okay. Now moving on. Enable static IP address for the SBC VM. This is one of the another best practice that we usually follow. So you can go inside the NIC card, then customize that IP config 1 into have a static IP address always. So the IP address, which is 172.16.21.7, right? 21.6. This is the IP address of the SBC. Let us keep that IP address always to this cube. If it is dynamic, very rare chances that 6 will be allocated to the other VMs. Usually it will be reserved for this VM, but there are chances since it is dynamic. But the moment I set to static, that IP address, private IP address 172.21.1.6 will be always dedicated to our CUBE router NIC interface. And we have done it for other VMs as well in the past. Now access the CLI interface of the CUBE, which we have already done. We were successful on that. Now map the public DNS name to the public IP address of the SBC. That means now if you look at the SSH, I have used IP address to access it, right? But any communication with Microsoft Teams, they won't accept IP addresses. So you need to work on the DNS part. That means that sbc03.ajcollab.com should be resolving into this IP, which is 20.169.230.121. So to do that, we already know what is that process. We need to add an error code in the DNS provider of ajcollab.com and then add this guy as an error code SBC03 and set that into the public IP address of the SBC. So to do that, let's go back to your DNS management. This is our ajcollab.com Namecheap domain. Within that advanced section, add a new record. One SBC03 is here from my old testing. I'll delete it. So you add a new record, which is a record, and the host name will be SBC 0, so not 01, 03, sorry, SBC 03, and its public IP address. You can get that from the Azure portal. This is the IP address. Paste it. Save. Now on the same PuTTY session, I would be able to access it using sbc03.aj-collab.com It might take a while, but the expectation, okay, it reflected immediately. Okay, so I logged into the same cube with the domain name. This is required because, I mean, not logging in, the mapping of DNS is required because Microsoft does not send anything to any IP address directly. So we are done with that. We mapped our DNS. Okay, now let's talk about our certificate portion. That's little complicated in Cube because everything we have to do from the CLI. There is no graphical interface where we can go and upload. Okay, so before going there, let's bring the configuration template. So I have created a configuration template for configuring Cube. All the configuration commands are there. We can customize from that. And unfortunately, there is no wizard available in the Cube just to give the topology and then boom, one go, they will deploy all. That is available on Audio Codes and Ribbon, but in Cisco it is not. So we'll have to manually configure all the things. Okay, before going there, are we good at this point till this, guys? Till the DNS setup?
Yes, Ajay.
Cool. Thank you.
Do we need to configure any DNS on configuration on the cube?
No, I'm
From
coming
CLI?
to I'm coming to that. So when you deploy the Azure based cube, you can simply do ping google.com. This will get resolved in Azure because they already have some name server configured. Show running configuration. I'll come to that again. Show running configuration section name servers. So we will look at that. Let's try show run. There are some DNS name config, IP name server, right? Somewhere I have seen that. So they configured the basic routing. It is not something that I added. It is came by default. I've seen something like IP name server.
Name server is already defined first. If you go
Do you see that?
88888, yeah.
Oh, okay. Where was that? Need to get that line. Oh yeah. Name server is 8888. 8888 is Google's DNS server. We can use that, or if you wanted to customize with your own internal IPs, you can configure it. So this is an optional adding DNS, but let's open the configuration template and see what we have there. All required configuration for direct routing I have added here. This is Microsoft Teams direct routing cube configuration template. So open that template. All the configurations are here. Don't just get overwhelmed with all these, but we can sort it down. Copy that into a notepad. Then let's start our journey. I'll move this notepad into this side and then our CLI into the side. Okay. All right. So first thing first. Normally when you do a cube, there is something called Cloud License Manager. You need to enable cube inside the Cloud License Manager. That altogether a different process. You can get your network team support to do that. That will basically enable the licensing inside that. The reason being I'm talking about because you cannot enter any voice command here. So let's see this. If I go to config T, voice service, see those commands are not taking, or if you are typing dial peer, those are the voice related command, it won't accept because it's not licensed for voice. Just to do that, the recent addition is this license boot level network premier add-on DNA premier. So that DNA premier, it's a component. Once you enable that, they will offer you 90 days of free trial for Cube. So that's an easy way of getting things in the lab. In production setup, you will have to work with your licensing team, add this into the Cloud License Manager. There is a different process. I don't have those commands at this point, but it's an easy thing. you can configure this router to register in Cloud License Manager, then things would be fine. Since it's a lab, you can go with this license boot level network premier add-on DNA premier. I'm going to configure that. And then they are saying please write and reboot. So I can use do WR or just control C WR, that will also write, then exit, and a reboot is required after this command. And after reboot, we will see, not reboot, reload. After reload, we will see when I type voice service VoIP or dial peer, those commands will be accepted. Okay, so let's reload it and see. Confirm, yes. So that's our initial stage. We enable the licenses for vCube, and wherever you see this exclamatory, right, that line will not be executed even when I copy paste. So I have added exclamatory, so while you copy paste from here, make sure you are entering it correctly. The reason is I don't want this rebooted without our knowledge, so I just added an exclamatory here. Anything comes after the exclamatory, the Cube CLI will not consider that command as a valid command, so it ignores that. So in this case, if you completely copy paste from here, the reload will not be executed. You have to manually type reload. Otherwise, you remove the exclamatory from that line and run it. Okay, so that's the first stage. You activated the license, and the second thing is take a configuration backup if you're working on a production router. So of course, taking a configuration backup would be nice. So let's do that. Since it's a new one, still, if you mess up with a lot of configuration, you can always come back to a fresh configuration using a backup. So once the reboot is completed, you can click this, right click, restart session. Okay, it is still getting rebooted. Let's wait for some time. Now adding name server, domain name and NTP server. IP name server, you can just give it like this. Since we have already seen that 8.8.8.8 already there, you can skip this. Otherwise, again, these are some public available DNS names. You can configure that, but I will skip this particular lines since when I type ping google.com, it was resolving to IP address and it was properly resolving. So I don't need that. Then domain name, you need to add. Make sure even when you're copy pasting, you make sure that your domain is actual domain, not just copy paste my domain. So this is something you need to be aware of. So I'll just highlight this particular configuration because many other places we will see the domain name. And an NTP server, this is again Google NTP. I'm just pointing that to Google NTP. So these two commands are needed. The first one is optional since you already have a DNS there. Restart session. Yeah, came in. User 01. Okay. Now if I type config t voice service question mark, so you see all those commands like telephony and other stuff. Similar to that, if you type dial peer, you can see rest of the commands. Previously it was saying invalid input detected after dial -peer, but now things started working. So that license will give you the permission to run voice commands that is needed. That's why we executed our first command. Now we can start rest of the configuration. So I'll add these two. Config T for configuring route. I hope most of the guys are already aware about cubes. I don't need to explain line by line commands. So this is done. Our NTP is configured. Now this is the tricky part in Cube. We have to manage the certificates properly. So there is a command show crypto PKI my public key RSA. So this will list the existing keys available or the SSL or TLS keys available within the router. So let's see that there are a lot of keys available. Private some name will be there. Yeah, TP self-signed. There is a key here. That's an RSA key. You can use this key, but the name will be always TP self-signed blah blah blah. So instead of that, what I'm going to do is, yeah, there is an SSH dot key as well, SSH key. So SSH is always a TLS protocol. So when you establish an SSL connection, it takes this key for your TLS handshake process. So there are keys available within the router. If it is a fresh router, you can do one thing. You can clear all the keys and then build your own key. This is the command for that. Crypto key zeroize RSA. That means erase all the keys. Keep in mind, once you erase all the keys, it also erase your SSH keys. Then nobody will be able to access the router over SSH. That's something you need to aware. I mean, around 7 minutes you will have access. After 7 minutes, that session will expire. When you retry again, SSH will fail. If you ended up having that situation, you can always open the Azure console as well. So if you go to the VM, in the help section, there is something called serial console. This is like a console window of the cube. You can run the commands from here. Even if you lose access through the SSH, the console will be available. Just like our Cisco router, when you lose access over SSH or Telnet, then you will have to console it, and then through the console cable, you can manage that. So similar to that, here also, see, this is the same cube. It's asking for username, user01. One second. What happened? Yeah. User01. Yeah, so it logged in. So this is an optional interface. If you have any issues on the SSH side or a network connectivity side, you can come to this and do some console related configuration from here. But if you're doing it properly, once you enter this command, within around 7 minutes, you have to push remaining commands as well. So I'll explain those commands, and in one go, I will copy paste. So crypto PKI zeroize RSA means it will erase and nullify all these existing keys. And then I'm generating a new key pair. So crypto PKI generate RSA, general keys. This is the syntax. Label, then I'm naming it as SBC RSA key. So instead of this name, what you see here, we will see SBC RSA key and modulus blah blah blah. This is again, this is Cisco syntax. So once you use this command, that will generate a key, and I'm enforcing that key to be used in SSH communication. So once you do this, then again you can re-establish your SSH session. So the time difference between this and this would be less than 7 minutes. We'll have to execute that within that moment, because the moment you enter this, your RSA key will be disappeared, but your active SSH session will be live because you're not initiating a new TLS handshake, right? The TLS handshake is already completed, you logged in. Now in that session, even if you delete your SSL certificates and everything, that session will be active for a few minutes. So in that, within that few minutes, you configure a new key and then attach that key to the for SSH. If you are doing it already an existing router, it is not recommended to zeroize that RSA. I mean, use that. So use this command to see what is your public key, and based on that, you can further tune your the certificate thing. So I'll tell you, wherever you see the SBC RSA key, right? That's the place you can rename or and replace that with your existing key information on the Cube CLI. If it is an existing router, not it's in a production router. Okay, since it's a new one, so let's do that. We'll clean it up. Reset terminal. Config T. So I need to configure this. They're saying, do you really want to remove these keys? Yes, I'm done. And then immediately enter these commands. Yes. So it has created new keys. Just write it down. Now, if I retry to re-log in again to this router, like a duplicate session, this will prompt me again another warning, because the certificate got changed after I replicate. I mean, after I remove and recreate the keys. So I can accept it. User 01. Done. I will continue. I mean, it's my option. I can continue configuring from the previous session, but since we have a new session, I will go with the new one. Okay, so you properly configured a key. Again, you can view that key using this command. Now see SBC RSA key.server. This is your SBC RSA key. That's your new key. This will be used for your licenses, sorry, your SSL handshake, TLS certificates and everything. So I'll be mentioning this name, that SBC RSA key, in many other places when we go further. Okay. Hope that is clear. That's on the key part. Now, we need to create a trust store. Trust store basically means the certificate stores. So let's go back to our whiteboard. So usually the trust store means, how do I draw it? Trust store or trust point. Trust point or trust store will be used for three different purposes. One, the information for CSR. We need to generate a certificate signing request, right? All those information, your common name, subject alt name, the different things what we usually use inside, like a country, location, organizational unit, all those things will be kept inside a trust store or trust point. So that is one requirement or use case for trust point. The second one, the certificate, actual certificate of the SBC will be installed on the trust store. When I say certificate here, it is identity certificate. There are two things, right? One is the identity, another one is the root certificate or the trust, external trust certificate. So the identity is the original certificate for the entity that will be also stored here. And the third one, your trust certificate. That means when you install a certificate, this is your identity certificate, this is your trust certificate or the root certificate. This will be imported and this will be also imported. This is like this is the actual identity certificate. This is the root certificate or the trust certificate. Both needs to be configured. So this is one use case for a trust store. It can do all these things. It can it can generate the information for generating CSR. It can hold a certificate. It can hold trusted certificate. Okay. So in this case, we need one trust point for the SBC itself, because that's where we generate our CSR and all of that. Then we need additional trust store trust point 02 to keep Microsoft direct routing certificates as trust. So we know that in the Ribbon SBC, we also uploaded around 7 certificates, right? Microsoft direct routing certificate. That is basically means when the SBC sends a request to Microsoft in this direction, Microsoft will offer you some certificate. So you can go back to our SSL handshake process and then certificate will be coming in. Now SBC, we need to evaluate, do I trust the certificate? And then proceed further, right? So in order for that SBC to trust that certificate, we need to pre-configure this SBC that, hey, you might get a certificate from DigiCert CA, DigiCert root, G2, G1, G2, G3, few things. So the SBC should be pre-aware about those certificates so that when Microsoft sends it, we will say, okay, we know that, we will trust it. Otherwise, SBC will always treat all external certificates as invalid certificate or unknown certificate. Then your TLS establishment will never happen. Okay. So in order for that to happen, we need to tell SBC or we need to tell CUBE that, okay, there are some guys called DigiCert. They actually signed the certificate for Microsoft. So you need to trust that DigiCert so that you trust Microsoft as well. It's all about trust relationship. Okay. So for uploading that 7 certificates. We don't need 7 in this case. Let's see what are those certificates. We also have added that in our learning portal in the past. So where is that section? Control F certificate. Yeah, direct routing certificate. Sorry, that's certified SBC. Direct routing TLS Microsoft root certificate. This link is an official Microsoft link, and you can see, because this is also subjected to change. Previously, there was one certificate called Baltimore, that was one CA provider for Microsoft. Now they came out of that, only DigiCert is available. So you can see all the root certificates here. Just clicking on this will actually download that certificate. So you always refer this website or the portal while working with the certificate. Again, every now and then they keep on changing things. So it's difficult to catch up with all the changes. So this is the link you can always refer. So this is DigiCert root CA, G2, G3 are important for Cube configuration. You can skip remaining those. And there is nothing wrong even if you add it, but these are the major certificate which is needed for direct routing for Cube. So just download these certificates. We have done that for already. It's there in my downloads, but I will download it again. Okay. So you got those added here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So let's create a new folder here because we'll have to do a lot of things on the certificate. So let's create a folder which is 06 Jan 2026 DR certs, direct routing certs. And I'll move these 3 guys inside this. Okay, I'll keep it. So I need to upload these certificates also into Cube to make the Cube understand, okay, you also need to test those guys. Excuse me. So to do that, for every certificate, you need to create the same kind of trust store. So in my case, I need to create one for the DigiCert root CA, then G2, G3. So I'll be creating additional trust store like this. Okay, this is the structure or the architecture we need to build. Other SBCs, we have an option, a web interface where we can upload that certificate easily. But here in our case, we will have to build everything manually using command lines. Okay, so let's keep these guys here. First, let us focus on the primary one, where we actually install the certificate for the SBC. This is for direct routing only. Okay, this is for direct routing trust certificate. But we need to install the actual certificate for the SBC. So let's see how we can do that. So for that, these are the commands needed. Crypto PKI trust point. So I talk about the trust point here, right? Trust point. Then I'm saying SBC trust store. Okay, which is this. Okay, trust store or trust point. This is just a name. You can use whatever. I keep store here. Then within that, enrollment terminal. Enrollment terminal means the way you install certificate will be pasting the certificate content from the notepad or from text editor directly into the CLI. Basically, you are supplying the text form or base64 encoded form of the certificate inside the Cube, which is called enrollment terminal, using the terminal window itself. Then FQDN sbc03.aj-collab.com, which is your own SBC's FQDN. Make sure when you're copy pasting, you need to edit this. Then subject name, we have seen this, right? In audio codes and ribbon, when we are generating the CSR, we have given the common name, which is CN. So here it is SBC03, then OU equal to collab, O is equal to AJ Labs. So like organizational unit and organization, we have seen that also in the other SBCs in a graphical interface, and this is the CLI equivalent of that. Then subject alt name, this is optional in this case. Even if we are going with the 0 SSL certificate, they don't supply subject alt name certificates by free. So you can skip that, or if you have a requirement to add additional alt names, you can add it here. Then serial number none, that means some of the guys will also include the serial number, I mean the router serial number in the CSR, which is not needed. So we can enter none here. IP address none, and no any. IP address none means the router may include its own IP address, which is 172.1.1.6, that private IP address, into the CSR while it is generating. We don't need that. So that's the reason I'm saying IP address none. Then revocation check none. Revocation means there is a way we can revoke the certificate. So these guys, I mean, the router will always check whether the certificate is still not revoked. If revoked, it will stop that SSL handshake with that certificate. RSA key pair, SBC RSA key. That means while generating the CSR, we need to use the key that we have created here. Okay, so key pair means, of course, there is a public key and private key. That is, public key is visible, private key is kept hidden, and we use that key pair for this trust store. So this is the primary trust store for the cube where we generate CSR. We will also install our actual certificate, and we'll also install our root certificate given by the CA. So when you go back to CA, they're going to give you two things, right? One is the actual certificate, which is our second one. Then the root certificate of our 0 SSL or whatever CA we use, that's our third one. Both needs to be uploaded into this trust store. So let's create that. Is this clear? Yes or no? Okay, I hope it is clear.
Can't we make it by the web interface, sir?
Unfortunately, no. Yeah, I when I was working in Cisco, I requested one of the BU teams to actually build a GUI for Cube, but it never went anywhere.
Okay.
They would have built something nice. Okay. And also the cloud router, if you are not ideal, I mean, if you are ideal for some time, not touching on the CLI, the session will terminate. You will have to reconnect sometime. So let's go with this name, SBC Trust Store, and then copy paste these components here. That's our first trust store. We may have to create many other trust store. Config T, copy this. Okay, done. Okay, now let's see how to generate a CSR. There are a couple of commands with crypto PKI, actually 3 commands. One is enroll, another one is authenticate, and then another one is import. Okay, so let's see the difference between all of that. So enroll is actually for generating a CSR. So crypto PKI enroll SBC trust store, which is this trust store is this, right? When I enter this command, using the elements within that trust store, which is our common name, subject alt name, all those things, using that, the cube will generate its certificate signing request or CSR and give you an option to display that CSR within the CLI itself. So let's copy this command and see what happens when I enter it. Okay, crypto PK enroll SBC trust store. It says display the certificate request to the terminal. So I need to say yes, please display it. And this is your certificate signing request or CSR. You can copy this from here all the way till here. That's your certificate content or certificate signing request. Copy that and keep it in a safe place. I mean, you can review that every time. That doesn't matter. This command you can enter any time and view that. Again, they are saying redisplay the request. No, I'm done. You don't need to redisplay. So you got the CSR. Once you have the CSR, then as per the diagram, the next process you need to approach. I mean, your CSR is generated. That is what this text content. You need to approach a CA provider. We use 0 SSL and then supply the CSR to them and generate the certificate. So let's do that process. I'm gonna go to the 0 SSL portal. Zero SSL. Again, sometimes you will not be able to generate multiple certificate from zero SSL. We have been doing that for different systems here, right? Say they will say, okay, your free trial has expired. In that case, you can go to account. I think I have discussed this. Then delete the account and use the same mail address. You can sign up again. Okay, using the same thing, sign up again. Then again, you can create a couple of other certificates. So if you say you don't have an option to create new certificate, then delete your account and then do it again. So I have an issued certificate. I need to cancel this. So you can revoke it. You don't have any new, any existing free certificate. I'll create a new one. And the domain name will be sbc03.ajcollab.com. I'll always use copy paste because I see some issues in my keyboard. Moreover, while working with CLI, make sure you are typing everything correctly. A small semicolon or space will create a lot of messes. So sbc03-ajcollab.com, that's your domain name. Enter, select the 90-day certificate, that's a free option. Nothing here. There is no auto generate. Disable this and enable paste existing CSR since you already have a CSR. Then go back to your CSR that you generated from your router. That means this thing, this content, right? I have it in my notepad. I'll copy this, supply that to this guy, then click next. If it is a valid CSR, it will go further. Click next. And again, their interface got changed. By default, your free plan is already selected. So you can remove this pay yearly option. Then just click next. Don't select any of the option. This is another recent update. Previously, there was one selection called select free, but now that free is still there, but they just pushed their plans in this. So you can click next here. That means your free selection is still there. And that's the problem with the cloud thing, right? They will keep on changing things. And when I teach people, I mean, they comes back and say, hey, this is, I'm not seeing that option. We are not seeing this option. So we should be we'll be always little agile to see those type of changes. We should be open to those changes. You can figure it out even if you see some option there. You will be able to figure it out and then get going with that. And that is common for our Teams interface as well. You will see a lot of changes in future. So you don't need to report me all those changes. Some student will say, hey, I don't see that direct routing option here. Where is that? Then I will have to log in and check. So you should be able to figure it out. Build that habit because we are living in the cloud and AI world. Not everything can be taught. Okay, all right. So let us, now the Zero SSL is asking, please prove that you are the owner of ajcollab.com domain. I have an option to send an email. They will send an email. I can click on that link to confirm. If you own any of this email, you can do that. Else, I'll go with the default, easiest DNS option. So within the DNS, if I select, they are saying, please add this CNAME inside your DNS record, which is ajcollab.com, and then confirm it. So I'll copy till here, till the SBC03. Copy this, go back to your DNS provider. This time, I'm in the same DNS, ajcollab.com domain name. Add a new record. This time I'm gonna be adding a CNAME, and your host is this what you copied, and your points to will be this, and that will be the target. Save it. Why is it not getting saved? Hey, what happened? It's not getting saved. Oh, yeah, that's taken. So save it. Now, only the domain owner can do this, right? So this is the way I'm proving that I'm the owner of ajcollab.com domain. Then click next. Then you can start verifying. Again, sometime it may throw this warning. That's okay. That's common because DNS replication will take some time. Again, click verify. Keep on clicking verify. Now let's review rest of the command line. By the time this completes, we'll come back here. I think this time it passes. Yeah, so completed, and then wait for this to complete, then you will get an option to download the certificate. Now going back to the command line, we are here, enroll basically to get the CSR. Okay, got it. So I can download the certificate, download to my downloads. sbc03-ajcollab.com, extract all. Okay, there is one folder already with the same name. One sec. Extract all. Extract. sbc03.ajcollab.com. So as usual, they usually supply the CA bundle as well as a certificate. Two things they will give. Now we need to import the certificate into Cube. So let's see how to do that. Now there is a command called crypto-pka authenticate. So authenticate is for importing the bundle certificate. So bundle means this is the identity certificate or the certificate for the Cube, and this is the certificate of the people who signed it. So first, the rule of thumb is like we need to import this first and then import the second one. So to make the bundle import, the command is always crypto-pka authenticate. Not only bundle, when you are importing trust certificate, the command will be always crypto-pka authenticate. Enroll is for generating CSR. Authenticate is for trust certificate installation. So in my case, I am informing the Cube that, okay, there are some guys called 0SSL and you need to trust that 0SSL. That's the basic idea of this particular command. So I'll say crypto-pki authenticate and the same trust store, right? SBC trust store. Then I will be pasting that certificate value inside. So I need to open this one with Notepad++. So, or you can drag and drop. This is your bundle. Okay, bundle certificate. Then this is your CSR. I'm done with CSR, no need. So I'll close that. So we have a bundle certificate here. Now let's see what is the command. Crypto-pki authenticate SBC trust store. So I'll copy this command. Go to CLI. Let's reset this. See, the session expired, so you can duplicate session. User 01. Okay. Config T. So first task is nothing but I am doing the root certificate installation. So I got the bundle or the root certificate. I opened that in Notepad++. I got the text equivalent of that file. Then I'll say crypto-pka authenticate. Authenticate means you are taking the trust certificate into the trust store of the Cube. So that is what this command. Crypto-pka authenticate SBC trust store. So I'll say this. Now they're asking, please paste the base 64 equivalent or the text equivalent of that certificate. So you copy your bundle information or the root certificate information, just paste it line by line. It's going to be accepted. Make sure you don't have any extra characters or spaces. Once that is done, you are actually, you did this part. The trust certificate is installed on the Cube. The next process is installing the actual certificate. Actual certificate means this guy when you got it from the 0SSL. So let's open this certificate also in Notepad++. So this is the actual certificate. And the command to install that will be crypto-pki import. So three things again. Enroll for generating CSR. Authenticate for adding a trust certificate. Import is for adding the actual certificate. So your actual certificate is here. I have a text equivalent of your actual certificate. And I can run this command to bring that. So again, I'll always refer that SBC trust store here. That is important. So things are always going inside this trust store. So let's see the previous one. Okay. Once you paste it, hit just one enter. It'll say, do you accept this certificate? I'll say yes. So I accept that certificate. Trust trust point CA certificate accepted. CA certificate means it's a root certificate. They got it accepted, successfully imported. Now we have the third command, which is crypto PKI import. This is the actual import of your CUBE certificate. So paste it again. Don't get confused with the three commands. Enroll is for CSR, authenticate is for trust. You're done with that. Now the third one is import. So copy from here, config T, paste it. Now again they are saying, okay, now you paste your actual certificate content, not the bundle, the actual certificate content. Copy, paste. Excuse me. And I have a hard stop at today 9:30. So once the certificate installation is completed, we will stop the class. Remaining we will continue on tomorrow. Because CUBE configuration a little lengthy, we have so many things to cover. So once it is done, hit another enter. Now you can see router certificate successfully imported. So at this point, you have properly installed the identity certificate and the root certificate, and your first trust store is actually good. So let's review that using show crypto PKI certificates. I'll just reset it, write it, WR command will write it, show crypto PKI certificate. This will give you the existing certificates inside the CUBE. So if you look at this, let's start from here. Wherever you see a CA certificate, right? CA certificate, this is CA certificate. That's the trust certificate. So in the trust, you have your 0 SSL, right? So that is what you install first. And wherever you see only a certificate, that's the actual server certificate. Inside that, you can see your common name. This is the common name we added, all those things. So this is your actual certificate where you see certificate. CA means it's a trusted certificate. And you have one trusted certificate here, which you installed. There is one more trusted certificate here that is installed by Cisco itself. It was even there before. It's called Cisco Licensing Root CA. We are not using this. We are focused on our root certificate here. So this is how you install the certificate. Now to validate that certificate in Ribbon and Audio Codes, we were able to browse the web interface and we have seen the certificate got presented. But in CUBE, we don't have that option. So we have to do that in a different way altogether. So let's go and verify that. That is here. Before that, let's do one thing. I am forcing this certificate into all my SIP communication. So when Teams or Twilio initiate any SIP traffic, I need to use this certificate. So this is the command for using that configuration. Okay. SIP UA, SIP user agent, crypto signaling default trust point. So this will be my SIP trust point. Any SIP communication secure SIP comes in, we will be using this trust store, which is SBC trust store, where you have all those certificates now installed. So config T, paste it. Now SIP communication will be taken care by that certificate. Now to verify the certificate installation, what you can do is you can enable HTTPS server on the CUBE, then browse the same CUBE using its public IP address or domain name and browse the domain name to see whether you are getting a certificate warning or not. So for that, you say IP HTTP authentication, type exit. You should be in the config T section. IP HTTP authentication local. That means use local credential to log in the HTTP interface. Then IP HTTP secure server. And by default, the non-secure server, which is HTTP, is enabled. So you can disable that. You type in no IP HTTP server. Again, that is optional. Then IP HTTP secure trust point. This is important. Now you are saying for every HTTPS communication, though it is HTTP here, since you have HTTPS secure here, this is treated as HTTPS. you always use SBC trust store, which is again your trust store that you built where you have the certificate. So any HTTP communications comes in, you will be presented with that particular certificate. So that is what this command is all about. Okay. Now, again, enabling the HTTP on a Cisco router will trigger a lot of vulnerability warnings from the InfoSec and security team. It's not recommended to enable it. For testing it, you can do it. After the test, you have to nullify, negate all these commands. You can go no IP HTTP, no IP HTTP secure server. This is already no. Then no IP HTTP secure trust points. Okay. So now I have enabled, I just write the configuration. I'll go back to a browser. Then yeah, let's use Chrome for that. https://sbc bc03.aj-collab.com. So at this point, you should be able to see the web browser interface. This is the only reason I have allowed the HTTP traffic on the CUBE NIC level. So on the CUBE NIC, if you see, already 9:30. Okay. So on the CUBE NIC level, subnet level, it is already allowed. HTTPS is allowed. I also allowed HTTPS on the NIC level. That's where you are able to load that web interface of the CUBE. This is the web interface of the CUBE, and you don't see any certificate warning here. If you click here, it says connection is secure. Let's say certificate is valid. You can click on that. You will be able to see sbc03.aj-collab.com. It's issued by 0SSL. So you can verify the certificate installation by enabling the HTTPS and forcing the trust store into the HTTPS so that you will see it. And you might be curious what is inside if you log in. There was a question, right? Do we have a graphical interface? Of course we do, but it's not that great. I can use the same credential since I use authentication local to log into the CUBE web interface. What you see right now is the web interface for Cisco router. And we can't do much on this. You can monitor a few things like how things are, and then some configuration elements are here like EIGRP, OSPF, RIP, static routing. You can see those in a graphical manner. I have some static routes, so you can see that. Even you can add it here, that's fine. Then what else for CUBE? Some stuff they're saying it's fine. Command line, you can have a web-based command line interface. This is basically executing the same commands through the web browser. And what else? Administration, you have file manager where you see all the files inside boot flash, the images and stuff. Come on. Again, it's not that much user friendly. These are the images, ISO files inside the boot flash, so you can see that. So it is, though we have, this is the model number by the way, though we have the web interface available, it is not properly audited type of web interface. So when you enable this, there are a lot of possible ways to get hijacked or attacked, so it's not recommended to enable. I have only enabled just to validate my certificate installation is proper. Otherwise, we just need to assume, okay, certificates are valid, or we may have to take packet captures while the call or while the TLS establishment happen towards Teams, and then see, okay, now it is success. And you can even download the certificate in packet capture. By the way, we have a packet capture section coming in soon, maybe tomorrow. We'll see that. So this is how I validate the certificate. Once I'm validated, my certificates are fine. I don't need this interface anymore. So I will just disable all those things by typing this. Okay, so I can just disable. Okay, config T, no IP HTTP authentication local, no HTTP secure server. This is again anyway no. Done. Now you don't see that web browser, web interface anymore. You cannot reload, it's gone. All right, so where are we? Now we have a command IPSSH RSA key pair name. We have done the same command in the initial stage itself. After we erase the SSL and erase the key and add the key, right? We use this command saying that for SSH communication, you have to use the same key. So the certificate within the CUBE is communication based. We need to tell for HTTP what certificate you need to use. For SSH, what certificate you need to use. For SIP, what certificate you need to use. So in this case, we are using the same certificate for all the communication. So this is how you do it. SSH command we have already configured. That was here in the first place. After we, nullify things, right? Yeah, here. IPSSH RSA key pair. We have done that, so you can skip that. So that's how we finish the certificate installation. Rest part is like building the trust store for rest of the certificate. That is again little tricky. That we will see from tomorrow onwards. So for today, I'll just save all the configuration. My certificates are installed. My CUBE is ready to accept rest of the configuration. So I'll just summarize what we have learned and then we will wind up. I'm sorry, I have to rush to something today. So if you look at that, we started with our CUBE deployment process. This would be the topology, Teams, CUBE, and Twilio. And our primary focus was to configure. We did Teams configuration in terms of dial plan, voice route, and voice routing policy and voice route. We also validated the licenses required. We replicated San Fran's location for this implementation. Then we directly went into deploying the CUBE in Azure. So we selected this subnet to deploy the CUBE. We finished the deployment wizard. After that, we went through, we configured our network security group, enabled the static route. We tried to access the CLI. We also did SBC03 into the public IP address mapping. Then we generated the CSR using a trust store, get it signed, and we installed. For this, we use enroll. CryptoPKI enroll. For this we use CryptoPKI authenticate. For this we use import, CryptoPKI import. So these are the three different CryptoPKI commands. With that we were able to install certificate properly on Cisco CUBE router. The certificate installation is common for, the same steps are followed for any other Cisco router, not only CUBE. Even if you are doing some VPN configuration or Cisco ASA configuration, that all requires some certificate installation. So we use the same method to do that, like trust store. Those are iOS based command, not specific to CUBE. Okay, so we generated CSR, installed the CA. Now the one we need to do is 4.3, which is install Microsoft root certificate. That's something we will do tomorrow. Any questions on this, guys, today?
No, sir.
All right. By the way, all the configurations are available here in our learning portal. You can go there and download this template, which is in my GitHub. And if any changes required, I'll be updating that in future, because all these are time to time. It's a flexible configuration. Sometimes we may have to change it. So I'll be trying to catch up all the new changes. But if you're doing after a long years where we don't see the update, then you may have to figure out few things on your own. So till here we have done. So let us mark it. Yeah. So from here onwards, we will do on tomorrow. Okay. Let me quickly go to our Q&A session. If you have any question, no question. Yeah. Any other questions, guys, for today?
AJ, there was no class in between from 19 to.
What happened?
Today.
We just started yesterday. Yesterday was the, yesterday we started.
Okay, yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday we completed our ribbon implementation. Before we break for vacation, we deployed ribbon. Then we configured ribbon yesterday. Today we did CUBE. Yesterday we started. I usually update the class updates on WhatsApp group. Keep an eye on that.
Right. So after 19th yesterday, you had the call.
Yes,
Like
right. Yeah,
yes.
that's true. Yes.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you.
And
Anything?
Ajay, this
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, this whole week we'll be doing the classes, right?
Yeah,
5 days.
this week we have 5 days classes. Yes, true. I'm not even feeling well, but still, I don't. Since we have taken a long time, I don't want to take leaves in between. So this whole week we have. Probably next whole week also we will have the classes. We will finish by that week. All right, guys. So anything else, please message me. I'll reply you that. Thank you. Bye bye. Good morning and welcome back, guys. In the last class, we have seen the cube deployment process. We are halfway through it. Today we'll be completing that. Just a review of the previous class. We started with this topology like Teams, Cube in Azure, and Twilio. And we completed all the configuration within Teams Admin Center. Things like adding the SBC, voice routing policy, dial plan, user licensing, number to the user. Those are the things we configured on the Teams Admin Center. With respect to the cube, we deployed the cube in our East US subnet and we logged into the router and then configured a couple of things. We didn't do anything on the PSTN side, which we will be doing today. So these are the steps what we have completed. We added the SBC, voice route, PSTN usage record, voice routing policy, and dial plan. Then we enabled the user for direct routing, validated the dial pad. We have done this many times, so we skipped that part. Then again, there's the DNS record requirement, and this is the architecture for Cube in the Azure. So we deployed this guy here with the public IP address and configure the network security group based on this. So what we have is 5061 media and port number 22. Same here in the NIC level NSG as well. But we also enable private IP address, static private IP address on the Azure NIC. Access the CLI of Cube. Then map the DNS into sbc03.ajcollab.com. Then we were working on the certificate installation. So we created our first trust point, which is our primary trust point. From that, we generated our CSR, because when you create the first trust point, there will be information for generating a CSR. So we generated it, we certified it, and to generate CSR, we use crypto PKI. What was that? Crypto PKI enroll. Then once you give the certificate, when CA gives you back actual certificate and root, for root you have used crypto PKI authenticate. For the actual certificate you have used crypto PKI import. So these are the commands we have seen yesterday, and we were properly completed the certificate installation. That means we are here. Generated the CSR, installed the CSR. Now we are looking into the next one, which is install Microsoft root certificate. So previously in the other SBCs, we have an option to just upload those certificate, but since Cube is a CLI based, we will have to create these many trust store. I mean, 3 trust stores separately, trust point 02, 03, and first one will take care of Microsoft. Microsoft Direct Routing got a couple of CAs, right? So if you go to the learning portal, you can see Direct Routing certificate. We have seen this yesterday. These are the official link for Microsoft certificate. So they're saying all your direct routing interface, which is sip.pstnhub.microsoft.com, will be certified by any of this. So these 3 are the important one: DigiCert Global Root CA, G2 and G3. So we downloaded these certificates yesterday. In our download folder, we have those certificates. Okay, 3 certificates. Now let's review how we can build trust store and then attach those into our Cube. So this is our configuration. Let me also log into my Cube. What's the IP? in cube. This is the IP address of the cube. Or we can also use our FQDN, doesn't matter. Accept. All right. So before going there, I'll also show you how we can do a backup configuration. I mean, so far we have done certificate installation, everything went well. We also validated the certificate installation by enabling the HTTPS services on the cube. So before doing further, if you think that, okay, you might do some mess up or we might do some configuration mistakes, we can take a safe backup of this current configuration so that anytime if you do something, we can come back to this point. We would have done that in the beginning as well. I missed to do that, but the command was there in the template. So this is the command for taking configuration backup. Copy running configuration flash. So I'll just copy that command. So it says destination file name. So we need to give a file name 07 Jan 2026 cert identity cert installed. That's a file name. So looking at this, I can easily understand, okay, this backup got created on 7th of Jan and then till the certificate installation is there. If you type dir and then pipe beginning of our file name. Okay, is it not there? Yeah, I don't know, for some reason that's not showing. Anyway, symbol dir command will display the directory and then you can see the file is present. So, and anytime if you want to revert into this, you can use just reverse of the command, which is copy running configuration, copy flash running configuration. Enter, it will ask which file we need to upload. Then you point out this file. So your existing configuration will come to this point, like a restore point. Anytime you can go back to that point. So I have done that. We would have done one for the beginning as well. So anything happened during the initial configuration, we can always go back there. Anyway, that's the basic cube configuration backup command. So let's go back to the place where we stopped yesterday. This is the section we stopped. And now we will be installing Microsoft Root CA for direct routing. And there are a couple of things. If you look at those three certificates, a .crt file, this is a certificate file that can be encoded base 64 or DER. Base 64 means you can open that in Notepad. For example, our SBC certificate, right? These are base 64 encoded. That means if I drag and drop in a Notepad file, you can see the actual certificate text content. So this certificate is base 64 encoded, but the one that I have downloaded from Microsoft, these are not base 64 encoded. That means if you open that in a Notepad, you will see a garbage text. So this is not a standard base 64 encoded certificate. The other encoding method is called DER, which is non-text format. That's why we are not able to see the text content. But to work with the cube, we need base 64 encoded format because you are actually copy pasting things. So to paste that, you need to have the text equivalent of the certificate. So how do we get that? Couple of ways. If you are using Windows, there is a native tool available called CertUtil, which is a powerful certificate tool. You can use that. If you are using OpenSSL, there is also another command, OpenSSL. This thing, OpenSSL, available for a package to download in Linux as well as Windows. So since I am using Windows, I'll go with this. Mac, you may have to find out another alternatives. So let me tell you how we can convert this certificate into a text equivalent of that. So simple, just open command prompt in the same folder. You can shift right click here. That means, okay, control right click, shift right click. So let's shift right click here and then open terminal. This will open the command prompt in the same location. See, users, Abdul, downloads, this is the folder. Or else you can open command prompt and then type cd and navigate there. That should be fine. Now, let's keep this side by side so that we can see what's going on. This is my command prompt window. And what we need is certutil encode dgset, I mean the file name what you have here, dgset global root ca. So I'm just using that command. Then convert that into PEM format. PEM is basically your text equivalent of the same thing. So this is the Windows built-in command. So let's try this command. Copy this. Make sure your certificate do not have any spaces or other characters. It has to be, you can use underscore or hyphens in between. Otherwise it has to be just complete text in one go. So I'm just converting this CA into PEM equivalent. So this is the command. If I enter, hit enter, let's see, one new file got generated, dgcert global root ca.pem. So this one you can open in Notepad++ and you get a text equivalent of the same certificate. So you need to convert all the three certificates into the same format. I have the same commands available here to convert all. That is done. Now the third one. Done. So three certificate got converted, and then now you can close your command prompt. You are good with the certificate. So these are the text equivalent. You can use Windows tool. If you are running Mac, I have just converted those and uploaded in our learning portal. Direct routing TLS Microsoft root certificate base 64 encoded. You can open there and the same see the same three files, converted file. You can just download it. These are PEM equivalent of the same certificate. Feel free to use it if you don't want to convert it. Otherwise, there are different tools available to convert. I have used that Windows based tool. OpenSSL also give you an option to do that. Now let's open all the certificate in the Notepad. So this is our first one, G2, and then G3. So all the three we have opened it here. Then going back to Cube for rest of the configuration. The CLI got exited. Okay. Now let's look into the configuration. So what we said was in the trust store, we need to create 3 trust stores since we are uploading 3 root certificate. So the first trust store, I have named it as Microsoft Direct Routing DigiCert Global Root CA. I mean the name of the certificate I have given just to identify DigiCert Global Root CA, this one. Okay, the same name and Microsoft -dr in the beginning. So this is the command to create one trust store. Then enrollment terminal means I will be pasting the command, enrollment terminal. Oh, yeah. So enrollment terminal, that means I'll be pasting the certificate content in the CLI. Then revocation check none. This is an optional command. Then to copy that certificate, this is the command crypto PKI authenticate. We always say authenticate is used for importing a trust certificate. So authenticate, then the same trust store name. It will ask you to copy paste the certificate content, then you can copy paste. So like begin certificate and end certificate. So I'm doing that for the first certificate, which is DigiCert Global Root CA. Let's see how that goes. again copying this command, these three, config T, and that will create the trust store. Now trust store has been created. We will copy this command. Now it's asking, okay, please paste your certificate content. So I'll copy the first certificate. After that, just click one enter. Do you want to accept this certificate? Click yes. Certificate successfully imported. You have to see this. If all goes well, you will see this. If any character mistake or something happens, it will throw a different error. So our first root certificate got installed. So I can close this first root certificate content. Now the second one, same step, crypto PKI trust point. This is the second trust store for our DigiCert Global Root G2, which is our second certificate. This guy here. So doing the same command for that particular thing. So crypto PKI. Revocation check none. Now let's copy the last one. This will ask you to copy paste the G2 certificate content. So let's go back and copy the G2 content here. Copy, paste. Okay, hit one enter after that. Do you want to accept? Yes. Done. Successfully imported. Good. Now the third one is the G3 certificate. So you have the command for G3 here. So I'll copy all at once and then do it. So asking me to paste the certificate content. Yeah, paste it. Yes, successfully imported. So you have installed all the root certificate for Microsoft. That means these three items are over. Now, since you are also doing secure SIP in the PSTN side, you also need one more trust store for our Twilio certificate. So this is another trust for Twilio. You can go ahead and download that Twilio root bundle, which is again available in our learning portal. We can see Twilio Elastic SIP trunking root certificate. And this will give you an option to download Twilio's bundle trusted certificate. So what they have done is they merged everything into one certificate and given there. So I have already downloaded it in the previous section, direct routing certs, Twilio bundle. Or else let's directly do it from the fresh one. Okay, so I'll just click and download this Twilio Elastic. Let's download it. Basically, it is also having a similar thing, but anyway, let's follow that. You got it downloaded here in the downloads. Let's go back. This is the CA bundle. What's the file name? One sec. Yeah, CA bundle SIP CRT. I will move this certificate also into our folder and rename it beginning with Twilio. Otherwise it will get confused, right? Twilio CA bundle. Now this is already base 64 encoded. That means if you open a notepad, see it is already a text encoded format. It has all the files in one set. We can also do this, but we cannot directly copy paste this. What we need is we need to do a slight modification for Cube because they have some title here, DigiCert Global Root CA, and some equal to symbols. We need to remove all this. So the certificate has to be begin certificate, end certificate, again begin certificate, end certificate, again begin certificate, N certificate. There should not be any line that this is the certificate name. So this should be the content which you need to copy paste into the cube. So let's see what is that command. Twilio CA for direct routing. So I'll create crypto PKI trust point Twilio CA, and then same commands. Okay, enrollment terminal, revocation check none, and then crypto PKI authenticate Twilio CA. That will actually ask you to copy paste the certificate content. This time I'll be pasting the whole content there. So let's go back to our router. I will just clear this terminal. Okay. Config T. This time, this is the command crypto PKI Twilio CA till here. Now, authenticate. Authenticate basically asking you to paste the cert content. So this time you will have to copy the entire thing. Make sure you don't have that previous titles kind of stuff there. Otherwise, it'll throw a warning, not warning, error saying that invalid certificate content. Make sure you copy like this. Okay, for safer side, in our document repository, right, certificate repository, I will also add this Twilio file, so that when you guys are doing, if you don't want to do conversions and stuff, you can directly open this. So the Twilio certificate, also I am uploading it here. 3 for direct routing and 1 for Twilio. Twilio is natively 64 encode, base 64 encoders. You can open it in Notepad++ and directly do this. You don't need to convert it using certutil. So all certificates are also there. If you want to do copy paste, do you accept this certificate? Yes. Certificate successfully imported. So you have completed all the certificate requirement at this point. You copy pasted or imported all the certificate. Now we have the command to see the certificate, which is the show PKI certificate. Let's evaluate that once. Reset. Reset terminal, clear, scroll back. Okay. There are a lot of certificate now. Let's check. So the first one is a CA certificate. Wherever you see a CA certificate, that's a trust certificate. It shows DigiCert Global Root G3. So you have the G3 imported properly. And second one shows CA certificate, and it says DigiCert Global G2. And then third one is a certificate only. That means the actual certificate of the SBC, where you can see the SBC FQDN there in the name. Then another CA certificate that says licensing root CA. Where is one more? Where is that? Microsoft root CA thing. G2 and G3 we have. Yeah, so here. DigiCert Global Root CA, that's also there. These three are important. Then other one, the Twilio Twilio thing also we need to check over it. There will be one more DigiCert Global. I'll do one thing. I'll copy this content into text editor. Then we can inspect. I'll copy all. We'll go to this. Okay, so you have DigiCert Global Root G3. Okay, then G2, then the root CA, then the actual certificate, that's your SBC's own certificate. That's where you see this. Common name is equal to this. Okay. Now another CA certificate. This is our root certificate for our 0 SSL. You can see that. Then what else? Another CA certificate, Cisco licensing CA. And do we see the trust store here? What is that? Twilio trust store. Yeah. If you look at this, the associated trust store, Twilio CA and Microsoft DR, two trust store is here for the CA certificate. That means both of them, the Twilio certificate and the CA certificate, are the same guys. Actually, that's the reason we are seeing two trustor name here, like Twilio CA and Microsoft CA. That's common, not an error. So make sure you have all the certificate present. This is how you can validate the certificate. Then let's go for rest of the things. Yeah, before that, any questions guys for certificate installation? Okay, I'll take it as no. We will move on. Where are we at this point? We installed all the certificates. Yes. Now we see actual voice related configuration within the cube. So let's start with voice service VoIP. So I'll explain the command, then I'll do a copy paste into left hand side. So voice service VoIP IP address trusted list. Basically, you are saying in the cube, these are the trust IP addresses where you will be receiving SIP signal from. 52 is our Microsoft starting IP range. We have seen that for all others as well, right? Even in Ribbon audio codes, we have some IP will be added automatically when you do configuration wizard. Some of the things we have manually added. So these are the Microsoft IP addresses. These are the Twilio IP addresses. Then you could be asking, how do we get the Twilio IP ranges? So IP. Is it here or no? Twilio IP address for Elastic trunking. Yeah. So you can click here. This will actually tell you what are the IP address associated. I have copied all those IP ranges. So this is one section where you see all these IP address, and there's another one. So they have given all their IP ranges, and we encoded that into our own format. This is called a cube format. And these are Microsoft. Microsoft will be available in the endpoint category. Control F. Endpoints. Microsoft URL endpoints. Here you will see the Microsoft's IP address for team specific. You can see SharePoint Online, Microsoft Teams, that ranges. Okay. So make sure you copy that and just copy paste into the cube CLI. This is the format, IPv4 and then the IP address. And if you put an exclamatory here, that command will not be considered. So you can confidently copy paste all these things. Okay. Then let's see this also. RTCP keep alive. That's to make sure RTCP keep alive message will be enabled. Then RTP port range. This is an optional command. This will give you that exact port number for our media and RTP and RTCP 16,384 to 32,766. Okay, it's actually 765, but there will be an RTCP as well, so it should be 766. Or you can go one more line here, like 764. Okay. Address hiding and some of the commands I don't even know. Those you can review the Cisco CLI documentation to see what is that meaning. So I just skip those. Mode border element is enabling that cube functionality. Allow connection SIP to SIP. That means the topology is like service provider is talking to your cube in a SIP language, and then your cube is talking to Microsoft in the SIP language. So the allow connection SIP to SIP will make sure that connection will be allowed. Without that command, the calls will be failing. No supplementary services SIP refer. I mean, they are disabling the SIP refer services, and then enabling that media renegotiate services. I mean, if you are talking for a long time, there should be some refresh negotiation happen. So that is what this thing. Then fax protocol, again optional. Trace to enable some logs. I mean, those that will enable some traces for that particular services inside the debug. Then under SIP, session refresh, you are enabling session refresh. Header passing, there's another customization. Error pass through, if you have header passing, error pass through, all those commands are if you see some error in one leg of the call, it will be forwarded to the connected leg as well. SRTP auth, this is an optional thing, so that's the reason I have commented it. This also, so if things are not working without that, I mean normal configuration, you can later come back and add it. SIP profile inbound, that means there is a concept called SIP profile to do header manipulations. We'll be doing that. it is by default applied only in the outbound direction. When the calls are exiting from the cube, you can do modification. But if you also want to do while the call is getting connected to the cube, you can do this command zip profile inbound. Then zip user specific configuration, user agent configuration, zip UA, NAT symmetric check media source. This is to enable some NAT functionalities. Again, all these commands, if you want to deep dive sections of what that particular command is all about, Cisco CLI command reference is there. You can just search, copy this command, go to Cisco CLI command reference in Google, and it'll tell you what does that means. No remote party ID, retry, invite to. If the call is failing, try twice. Connection reuse, crypto signaling, default rest point. This is we have done in the beginning itself. I mean, the moment we created and installed the certificate, we use zip UA and we entered this command. I'm just adding it once again here. Since that is already configured, I can put an exclamatory here, so it will not be considered. It is already present in our existing configuration. To see that, show running configuration section zip -UA. So see this zip UA, crypto signaling, default rest point, SBC cert store. We have added that. Then handle replaces header. So these are the commands in the first section. Let's copy all. Config T, paste it. Keep an eye on your CLI. It should not throw any error or warning while copy pasting. You need to save and reload. That's when you enable mode border element. It is an expected one. It's okay. You don't need to reload. And all fine. So your first section for the VoIP commands are over. So let's move on with the manipulation stuff. This is little complicated now. So let's see what are those. I'll highlight, maximize the screen so that we can see the entire stuff. Here, zip profile manipulation to Teams font system. When the calls are going towards Teams, usually the cube will only share its private IP address. Let's see that. Now in this topology, okay. If you look at the topology, we have our Teams Cloud SBC, which is cube, PSTN. When a SIP signal goes in this direction, like an invite goes in this direction, now this SBC got two IPs, right? One is our private IP, which is 172.21.1.6. Second one is our public IP address. That is, what is that? Let me just check that. 20.169.230.121. Okay. So two IPs will be there. One is the private IP address and another one is the public IP address. So my simple question is, does the cube aware about the public IP address? Of course no, because it's an Azure managed public IP address. That mapping is done by Azure. When any request goes to that public IP address, Azure will understand, okay, I need to map that into the cube NIC card. So that direction is okay, anything that comes from there. But when a request comes to the cube and cube is generating an invite to some destination, cube is not even aware about there is a public IP address. They are translating an IP back to me. And when I send something out, I'll also need to do a reverse mapping. Cube is not aware about it. So any invite or any message that you see from cube will always consider wherever, like, see these connection in IP and all, right? Those are the internal IPs. See in and many other like contacts or from all those places, the SBC will hard code its private IP address, which is 172.21.1.6. Now imagine you are sending an invite. In that, C in IP address is 172.21.1.6. Will Microsoft understand that IP? Of course no. The Teams Cloud will never understand, okay, I'm getting a call, that connection in IP where I need to stream my media as a private IP address. So that will failed to establish media, I mean, you will see a one-way audio issue in that case. Okay, so we need a mechanism to translate all the private IP address of the cube into the Azure provided public IP address from cube itself. So if you inform cube, okay, anything that you see with this IP, you translate to this. For that, we use zip profiles. And in the zip profile, if you look at, you will see all those translations. And these are copied from the official documentation of Cube for Microsoft Teams direct routing. So basically what they are doing is creating a tag name voice class zip profile 11. Then within the 11, you're saying request any. Request means those invite 200 okay, 200 okay, those type of messages. Invite 100 trying to no 200 okay. We covered all the request methods, right? Like invite, buy, cancel, those messages. So that's basically request means. So any request, zip header, contact. Zip header will have a contact field as well. We have seen all the zip deep dive sessions, right? So in that and zip message, if you take, there'll be a contact field. Modify. So contact header, they are modifying. This basically means this is like your regular expression match section, and this is your change section. So what they are basically doing here is @.star. So anything with and .star mean anything. That'll be their private IP address. Usually in a normal zip message, if you take in a cube will always attach the private IP address there. Now I am converting that into the public fully qualified FQDN sbc03.aj-collab.com. That is one modification. So make sure when you are doing the lab, the sbc03.aj-collab.com, you need to modify with your own SBC name, SBC FQDN. So that's one of the modifications you need. Then a response, any zip response, which is 100 trying, 200 okay, those type of things. If you see and .star mean anything after that IP section, sorry, URI section, please convert that into sbc03.aj-collab.com. That is one section. Then you also have a couple of other things which you can go through it. I mean, what is basically, so zip colon after this 5061, they are changing that into this format, user equal to phone. So this has given by the official Cisco documentation itself. And if you look at here, I have just conveyed in a different way here, private IP address and external public IP address. So these are the section you are converting your private IP into public. I mean, you are informing the cube that any message that you generate, if you see your private IP address there, please change it to public IP address. So let's see the rule number 71, response any. There'll be request any also. Yeah, let's see, request any. Request any. Connection info. Connection info means that CIN IP, right? Where you see where the call is origin. I'll show you in the debug as well. CIN. This is the IP address. IPv4 Q private IP address. So you need to replace Q private IP address here. The IPv4 has to be maintained because in the CIN you can see IPv4 and then a private IP address. So whatever I have given as underscore capital letters, those are the things you need to change it. So there is all here you need to keep your private IP addresses, and here you need to keep your public IP addresses. So this will take care of that translation. You can even read through all those commands. It all says about, okay, wherever you see candidate 1, if that candidate 1 is having a private IP address, again convert that into a public IP address. That is what it all does. So I'll do one thing. I will copy this entire thing into a new text file. Then all I need to do here is, first thing, make sure if you are copy pasting from this template, this needs to be modified into your own case. So make sure you do that. This is my SBC name. You have to replace with your SBC name. Then all of us need to convert our private IP address into public. So I will highlight this private IP address. Let's see here. And then cube external NAT public IP address basically means the public IP address of the cube. Okay, so we are going to replace all these in one go. So first let us copy the private IP address, Control F, and there is a replace option here. So I'm going to replace all the cube underscore private underscore IP with the cube private IP addresses. So let's copy that cube IP from Azure itself. Networking. Okay, so this is the private IP address, right? So I'll go back to Notepad++, paste it, then replace all. So all the private thing will be replaced. Yeah, it all got replaced. You can even see that 172.21.1.6. This is the format. Make sure you don't mistake any of the configuration. Sorry, I need to highlight all. Style token green. Yeah, so you configured private IP address. Now let us copy this cube external NAT public IP address. Control C, Control F, replace, paste it, and then here the public IP address of your cube. So again, get that from Azure. Copy this and paste in here. Click replace all. All those things got replaced. So your public mapping is done. Style token. Yeah. So this is how you create the zip profile. This is again officially documented as well, so you can use that. So I'll copy the entire contents. I don't need any space here. Entire content into the cube CLI. Okay. Duplicate. Config T and paste. So you're adding all those configuration. So by the time that adds there in CLI, again, make sure there is no error it is throwing. You can go back to the content. So this is like when the calls are going towards Microsoft Teams. Now we also need some translation needed as per the official doc when the calls are coming from Teams side. So that is your profile number 2. So let us copy the profile number, not 2, 12. Copy this into a new tab. Paste it. Yeah, this is completed. We are good. So in this, again, similar conversion. Wherever you see, 1 second. It's also a good practice to highlight things in this. Okay, yeah, it's only public and private IP addresses there. There is no domain name requirement here. It's all about a public IP. When the calls are coming in from that public IP address, you need to translate and give it to Cube, saying that, okay, while you processing the call, you have to process based on it, because Cube is aware about only the private IP address. So you have to convert those into this way. So again, same step. So you copy the Control C, Control F, Control V, replace Control V. So Cube external NAT public IP address, you copy that, then take the public IP address. You already have that there. Replace all. So that is done. Now Cube private IP address, you copy this private IP address, paste it here, paste it here now with private IP. Okay. Replace all. Okay, we are good. You can do all at once. Since I am explaining section by section, I just copy pasted here one by one. Otherwise, you copy all the profile here. In one shot, you replace it. So copy this. This is our second profile. Going back to the Cube CLI, adding that second profile. Now, by the time that adds, let's go back to this. Now, the profile third says SIP profile manipulation for options keep alive. So not only the call, for options messages as well, we need to do a slight conversion about your domain name and public IP addresses. So this third one is in 13 is actually for that. So let's copy this into a new section. Copy, paste and see what changes we need here. So here you have to focus on your SBC name. So make sure you replace this with your SBC FQDN. I have it for my own, so I don't need to replace this. Then again, private IP address and external NAT public IP address, same format. So I'll copy this private IP address, Control C, Control F, replaces, then replace with the private IP address. You already have this in the field, so I can just run replace all. Now cube external public IP address, copy it. You can see that one here also. Okay, 230.21, right? 230.21, yeah. So replace all. That's done. So this is for your options ping customization. I'll tell you where we are calling all this. So we are just creating it and we will be referencing this in the configuration also while proceeding. So that's the profile number 13. And now let's go back to this one. Voice class SIP header pass-through list. I mean, you are creating just a header pass-through list. And again, these are the place where you are defining everything. This defined element will be called in the further configuration. So let's just copy this and keep it there. Then voice class SIP options keep alive. Now you are customizing the keep alive. Transport TCP TLS, you have to use TLS for options keep alive, and SIP profile 13. So this 13, right? 13 we created just now, that is referenced in this configuration. So when the cube sends a keep alive message, it will use all these conversions. Okay, that's what we need it for, options keep alive. So let's copy these commands as well. So I'll come back here. So we are done with all the profile. Now we have to copy this and this here. While pasting, copy pasting, make sure in my template every line end I have an exclamatory. So when your cursor is like this, like a exclamatory, and then your cursor is there, whatever you paste, it will not be considered. So make sure while copy pasting, you're always at the new line. Okay, paste it. Yeah, like this. So if I type something here and paste, that line would not be considered. Okay, so we have done till here. Now let's see on the Tilio side. Tilio also requires some translation because Tilio is also a public entity. When Cube sends its private IP address there, that will create a conflict. So let's see what happens. This is again copied from the Tilio official documentation. Voice class SIP profile 21. Copy this into this. So request reinvite. Okay, this is what you need to modify on this side. This is your Tilio URI. Let's say this. We know that AJ Tilio 030102 we have configured. So when you add a trunk in Tilio, I will be adding this one as the Tilio termination URI. So let's do that first on the Tilio side, then we will come back to this particular configuration. So I will just save the configuration here. Now going back to my Tilio account. So this is our PSTN side configuration. So let's quickly add PSTN configuration. Usually in a production network, this will be handled by the provider guys. You need to coordinate with them. That's it. They will tell you what is their URI and what is their IP and all of that. So here a few things. The Tilio termination you need to customize. Also your SBC name you have to change it. So mine is actually right, so I can blindly copy paste this. My SBC name is there and my Tilio, this will be my Tilio termination that I'm going to configure. So within Tilio, let's build a new, okay. Oh, what is that? HA. Okay, within Tilio, we have two trunks as of now. One is for our audio codes, one for our ribbon. I'll be creating a third trunk for Cube. When you guys are using the free account of Tilio, you can have only one trunk. You can just keep on editing that or use the same trunk configuration, like the same termination thing. So Elastic SIP trunking, manage. First, we need an access control list. We already have an AJ access control list. where you added the the audio codes and cube ribbon IP addresses. This time you need to add, this is our SBC IP, this is our first audio codes IP, this is ribbon IP. Now let me add the cube IP also here by clicking add a new IP range. Copy the cube public IP address and paste it, and I will name it as cube IP. This is always /32 because just one IP address. Add it here. That's your first step. Now second thing is go to trunk and this is the trunk for, first one for audio codes, second one for ribbon. I'll create a new one. You can just edit the existing one, no problem. I'll rename it as San Francisco because that's where we are trying the new trunk. So create. Few things here. On the first section of general, make sure there is secure trunking enabled. Save it. In the termination, this is the place where you add the termination URI, right? That TW03, that is what I'm going to add. If you have only one, that will be 01, so you can keep that, no problem. So AJTW03 is the Tilio URI I'm going to add. Then I need to point the access control list here. Save it. Sometimes when you save, the access control list will disappear from there, but make sure you have it saved well. So mine is fine. Then origination. That's where you need to add your SBC information. So I'll add SIP colon. You can use SIP S also, but let's go with SIP. Then the FQDN of your SBC, which is sbc03.aj-collab.com. Whatever you have added in the Teams admin center, right? The same thing. Okay, sbc03.aj-collab.com. Add it. You can also add public IP address, but this is fine. It is configured. Then numbers, and I'm going to be using that number with 500, same number that we have used for ribbon. So add an existing number, or you can buy a number. I'll add an existing number, and we do have a number that is with this one, 641-500-6235. That's the number we tested for ribbon. I'll be using the same thing for cube as well. Add it here. So now your trunk configuration within the Twilio or the PSTN provider is done. They will be sending all the calls to sbc03.ajcollab.com when anything comes to this particular number. Anyone who calls, Twilio will take care of sending that to my cube public IP address. Then we'll have to customize from the cube side. So in this, the termination is the one which I'm looking for. AJTW03 is my Twilio termination URI. So that is what I have here, aj-twilio03.pstn.twilio.com, right? Then here your public domain name of your SBC. So make sure you replace this when you copy paste from here. Now, I just put a space here because we'll do one thing here also. We need some customization. We don't add it here so that I can show you in debug what will be an error. We cannot do that for all these things, but just to show one specific error, we will see I'm not adding this section in that profile 21. What happens if you're not adding that? We will tell you. Okay. So just keep it in the notepad so that we can copy paste as a fix, but let's try what happens. So the private IP address, Control-C, Control-F, replaces private IP address will be 1.6, replace all. And external NAT public IP address will be the 121. Is it 121 only, right? One second. 120, yeah. I'll replace it. Okay. So this is the zip profile 21, but while copy pasting zip profile 21, I'm just adding only this. I'm not adding the last section. Then I will tell you specifically what happens in that case if we are not adding this particular line. From the debug, we can see. So copy this. Cube session terminated. So let's duplicate it. Oops. Copy config T and paste it. So this is pending. We haven't added this, but we have the template ready. We will paste it. Okay. This is the pending thing. Not all, only some portion. Okay. Now again, going back to the template, we will see rest of the configuration. Once you are done with all the profile, then let's see remaining configuration. This is voice class codec configuration. So codec means what type of codec you want when the calls are going out and coming in. So we prefer G711 ULO, ALO 29 and then 29 RB. So we'll copy that. Then voice class E164 pattern map. So pattern map basically means your number ranges. What are the number ranges where you want it to route? So now we are defining the number range. We have a pattern map 1 and pattern map 2, and I'll tell you where we are calling those pattern maps. Okay, time being we are just defining the pattern map. And if you look at this pattern map, this is Teams DID number. So what are the numbers you have purchased from the carrier? You need to add all those range here. E164 plus 1 214 888 ... means anything. That's one series I have. Then if I am testing that, of course I can add this. If I don't need to test it, and then ignore it. Then other one is press 1 641 500 blah blah blah. So that's the number we are going to test it, right, on the Tilio side. Plus 1 641 500 number. Come on. Yeah. Plus 1 641 500 6235. That's the only number I'll be testing. So technically speaking, I only need this line, but I just demonstrated how you manage if you have multiple series of number. So whatever number you procured from the provider, that needs to be added here in a format like you don't need to add all. Otherwise, you can also add plus 1 and then 10 dots. Dot means anything. So this is called a Cisco wildcard representation. Dot means anything. So this should be fine. That's for internal numbers. Now you also need an external pattern. So customers will be dialing numbers with plus prefix or without plus prefix. So plus prefix dot T means anything, any length. Okay, so you can have international number, national number, local number, any format with plus or without plus. That's the basic meaning of these two. So those are the external PSTN numbers. Okay, we are just defining it. We will be calling it in a moment. Then there is a concept called DPG. So before going to DPG, let's add these guys there, and then we'll explain what is DPG. Config T. Okay, done. Okay, so before going to DPG, let's explain one simple thing. So this is our topology. Now we did required translations, and we need 4 dial peers. Dial peer is basically means your voice routing. Okay, 4 dial peers. And when we define or design dial peers, you need to think inside the perspective of cube. I mean, imagine you are sitting inside cube. So we are sitting inside the cube when a Teams user makes an outbound call. Okay, Teams user, this is the Teams user. He makes an outbound call that goes to Teams cloud, process it. Teams understood, okay, this is an PSTN call. Let me send that to the SBC. Now imagine you are the cube configuration guy. You are sitting here. Then only things will make more sense. So for you, that's an inbound call leg, right? Though the Teams user say, I made an outbound call, within the cube, if you're sitting inside the cube, for cube perspective, that's an inbound call leg coming from Teams side. So that is your first call leg. Okay, this is the first call leg. Now, you need to extend that to PSTN. So you will be having one more dial peer that goes to PSTN side. So again, for in the Teams user perspective, it is an outbound. Cube perspective also, it's an outbound call leg. Okay, that's for an outbound call from Teams towards PSTN side. Now, the same way, when a new call comes from the PSTN side, so somebody is sitting here from their mobile and calling this user, the call will go to PSTN, and then PSTN will send that call into your cube. That's your third dial peer. And for cube perspective, that is still an inbound call leg. Okay. And then cube will extend that to Teams. This is your fourth dial peer. There are different ways to design it, but this is the ideal approach. You can have 4 dial peers to manage the scenario. You can have, you can mix and match 1 and 4 together and then 3 and 2 together, but I don't prefer that. That will confuse you while debugging. So this is the easiest way. You have it, easiest and ideal way. You can have 4 dial peers to manage it. Now, we will create something called dial peer group. So what is dial peer group? Called DPG. DPG. So dial peer group basically means any call comes through this trunk. Okay. What is the connected route? When call comes through the dial peer 1, which dial peer I need to select to send that call into PSTN side? You guys answer me. I won't tell you that. So this is the question. When a call comes to the SBC using dial peer 1, to make that call successful, what is the connected dial peer I need? You guys are there? Or hello? No, I won't tell you the answer. Somebody needs to unmute and speak.
Yeah, dial peer 2.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just want to see you guys are listening. All right, thank you. So you have to force, another question, I will answer that question. You have to force your dial peer 1 into dial peer 2. So you will say destination DPG dial peer 2. So you are forcing dial peer 2 within the dial peer 1. So any call comes through the cube using through the dial peer 1. You don't consider what number they dial, what information they have. You blindly map that into this so that this call will be a successful call and goes to PSTN side. That's called connection. Now, when any call comes through this trunk, this dial peer, which is dial peer 3, you need to attach this one into this guy. To make that going towards Teams, you need dial peer 4. So for 3, you will say destination DPG, which is dial peer 4. So you are forcing that into dial peer 4. So this is how you do that complete connection. There are different ways also. You can check what number they dial. If they dial this number, send that to PSTN, or if you have different system, you can do that. But this is the best approach I have seen for the recent configuration. So map it, take the call, and once the call comes from the Teams, any call that originates from Teams, you only need to send to PSTN. Right? You don't need to send that back to Teams. So you don't need to send that to anywhere else. So you force that any call comes from Teams, force that to PSTN leg. Any call comes from PSTN side, force that to Teams leg. That's where we define dial peer DPG group. So let's see those DPG. So we are defining here voice class DPG2. Okay. Then you might be asking, do I need DPG1? 1 and 2, it's just a tag name. So just to map what destination I have choose, I just named it in that way. So I have only 2 and 4. We don't need 1 and 3. So it's a voice class DPG2. It says description Teams to PSTN. That's what the description I have given. Teams to PSTN. Then I prefer dial peer 2, preference 1. I'll say dial peer 2 is this dial peer. When this call comes in, please use that. I haven't created any dial peer as of now. So when I add this command, it will say, okay, dial peer is not created. While creating the dial peer, you need to configure DPG. So if you're not configuring the DPG now, while creating dial peer, they'll say, okay, there is no DPG. So it's like chicken or egg situation, which came first. So to address that, what we do is we will define the DPG, okay, including the description, but we don't add this dial peer configuration now since we don't have that in place. Okay, we'll just add it there and keep it. That's the reason I have an exclamatory here. This command will not be considered. And the similar way for dial peer 4, we don't have the dial peer yet. So adding the dial pair for there will throw you errors that there is no dial pair. So we'll just keep it and configure the dial pair, come back and add it. So that's the functionality of dial pair DPG group. Since you have the exclamatory here, I can copy paste these commands into my CLI. So let's go back. Do I have the CLI live? No. Duplicate session. User 01. Done. Close. Config T, and I'm pasting those DPGs. See, even if you added that line, it is not accepted. This is just a command. Okay. Now another one, voice class SRTP crypto. This is how you make your crypto configuration. I mean the security configuration, what algorithm you need to use. So keep that. Then voice service VoIP SIP pass-through headers 14. This is also there in the official documentation, so I copied it. So we will copy this command and paste it. Okay. Now here comes the second last section. That is our, what's the time? 9:14. Okay. Tenant configuration. So tenant means you can do without tenants, but tenant gives you an easy way of configuring things. Whatever information you want under the dial pair, for example, we have dial pair here, dial pair voice 1 VoIP inbound from MS Teams. Okay. Then you have some commands here. Customization. These are mandatory. Instead of having, not all commands can be merged into tenant, but when you mention voice class SIP tenant 1 here, whatever configuration comes under this tenant, right? Everything will be taken effect for that dial pair. So if you have large number of customization command, we add all those commands in tenant 1 so that your dial pair becomes simpler. Then you reference that tenant ID inside that dial pair. That's the approach. If I don't want the tenant approach, then I need to copy all these things, then paste it inside this guy like voice class and then those commands. So then it will take that. But your dial pair becomes so lengthy. Just to make things simpler, we go this approach. So inside tenant 1 is dedicated for Teams. Let's see what we have is handle replaces localhost DNS. This is your SBC FQDN. So when you are copy pasting, make sure you replace with your own domain name here. Then session transport, I am forcing that to TLS. No refer to passing bind control source interface Ethernet 1, bind media source interface Ethernet 1. So what is that? So show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief will tell you the IP address for the local interface. You can skip this one. This is the Azure provided thing. 172.21.1.6 is the IP address of Ethernet 1, and you are mapping that to all dial pairs. I mean, any calls comes in. This is okay if you have only one IP address. This is fine. If you have multiple IP address, Cube will confuse. An invite comes. I need to send that invite to somewhere else. And what are the source information I need to use? What are the contact header I need to use? So the Cube will derive those information based on the IP address present in the Cube interfaces. So if you have multiple interface, Cube will get confused what IP I need to use. So you are specifically telling any call that goes out, your contact, wherever you need to add your IP, please take the IP address of Gigabit Ethernet 1. That's the meaning of this particular command. Okay, then pass-through header 14. Here also we are using pass-through header 14. So if you use something in voice service VoIP, then this one does not make any extra sense actually. This is a global configuration. This is specific to dial pair. Dial pair will take preference. But when you have these things in both sides, it did not make any change in that. So that's fine. You will keep it there since that was a template. No pass-through content custom SDP. SIP profile 11, SIP profile 12 inbound. So what is that? SIP profile 11 means, let's scroll up. We will see the SIP profile 11, this one. SIP profile manipulation to Teams. When the calls are going to Teams, we need to do this manipulation. That's what we said. SIP profile 11. Okay. So that's a Teams related thing. So we added in the Teams tenant 1. Okay. Then SIP profile 12 inbound when the calls are coming from the team side. Okay, anytime when the calls are coming from the team side. In the inbound direction also you need a manipulation. For that we use SIP profile 12. So let's see what is SIP profile 12. This is SIP profile 12, SIP profile manipulation from team side to phone system. From team's phone system. When calls are coming from the team side, these are the changes you need. Again, the IP conversion, that's the only thing inside that SIP profile. So I map that one here. Then early offer forced. We learn what is early offer and delayed offer. Early offer means basically the team's calls are all early offer. You can see an invite along with an SDP there. Then block is 183 SDP present. So this is again optional. If you see 183 session progress with an SDP message, we are blocking it. We are only considering the invite message and 200 OK message. 183 we are skipping. Let's see how our 183 looks like once we configure this again. So that's on the team side. Now for Twilio also they have their own tenant configuration. It says transport TLS. We don't need the domain name here like in localhost stuff. I'll say bind control. Again, Twilio side also when the calls are going, I'm attaching this to Ethernet 1. But if you go back to the on-premise deployment thing, so think about you have a PBX here. That can be call manager or Avaya, anything. Then an SBC. Then your PSTN. All on-premise, okay, not on the cloud. So here, usually what we do is we will create two interfaces for SIP, basically for SBC. Then your internal PBX will be talking to this internal interface. Your external PSTN will be talking to the external interface. So having two interface makes sense if you have an on-premise SBC as a demarcation point, okay, external and internal. But think about our scenario. In our scenario, even if your SBC is sitting on-premise, okay, SBC, your one side is Teams, that's a cloud entity, right? And another side is PSTN. We also have a cloud-based PSTN. So both are actually external. So in that case, you don't need to have two interface. You don't need to have Teams talking to this and this talking to this. Instead, you can just use one interface to talk to Teams and PSTN. So that's the reason we are going for just one interface. But if you prefer to have two interfaces, then you can also have one more public interface. Then inform Teams, you send that media into that, or media and IP, signaling everything into that. Twilio side, you send that into the second interface. So my case, just one interface. That's the reason in the tenant 2 also, I am attaching gigabit Ethernet. So any signaling and media happens, it is still on the gigabit Ethernet 1. Sorry. Then SIP profile 21. So what is SIP profile 21? That's for the Twilio customization. You can see SIP profile manipulation for Twilio, and that is copied officially from Twilio documentation. Then here also you are forcing early offer forced. Asserted identity pipe, P asserted identity, that's one of the way we represent the caller ID, an optional way. Options ping, we are enabling options ping. SRTP crypto 1. That's you are using the SRTP crypto 1 means here we have mentioned, okay, what cryptography you need to use. So those are the tenant configuration. That basically the customization for dial peer, but instead of adding those commands inside the dial peer, you are adding that in a tenant configuration. So you can copy and move those configuration into Cube. Duplicate session. And moreover, Cube configuration will be common when you guys are migrating from on-prem to cloud, because most of the voice gateways in the world is actually Cube at this point, but that will change soon. So what customers are doing at this point is like they will maintain that Cube for the next renewal. During the next renewal, say, okay, we will consider some other devices like audio codes or ribbon. That's the new habit. Unless Cisco comes up with some nice manageable GUI interface for Cube, Cisco might lose some customers in that context. Okay. Because of the hard issue, right? I mean, you understood how difficult it is to configure the Cube when you're comparing that with ribbon and audio codes. Even we are not yet there, we will be having a lot of issues also while calling. We may have to troubleshoot separately. We'll see that. Now, this is the last configuration. This is for dial peer, like we discussed the same format. So we need 4 dial peers. This is the first dial peer. Again, you always think in the perspective of Cube. So let's see that. Dial peer voice 1 VoIP. Inbound from MS Teams. Okay, so there's an inbound from MS Team. Don't just confuse that's an inbound call to MS Teams. Okay, it's inbound from MS Teams. So how do we get inbound from MS Team? When somebody talks about in a user perspective, they will say outbound call and inbound call. But as a Cube configuration guy, you should divide that into, okay, even for an outbound call and inbound call for Cube, there is an inbound leg and an outbound leg. 2 call leg makes 1 call possible. So description inbound from Teams. Then these are some command RTP payload type comfort noise 3. That means it generates some comfort noise. Some background noise will be there. This is optional. Session protocol SIP version 2. You use SIP. Then destination DPG2. That means you are forcing that into destination DPG. You are forcing that into this. And incoming called E164 pattern map. That means the calling number, anyone who calls, okay, anyone who calls, pattern map 2. So what is pattern map 2? So if you look at pattern map 2, those are the PSTN numbers. So anyone who calls, if the destination numbers are some PSTN numbers, some random numbers, then this dial peer means you take that call. So this is the way you detect an inbound call. So anyone who dials a PSTN number, you take that call, and when you take that call, the call taking will be based on dial peer 1. Okay. Then you attach rest of the things, voice class codec, it will prefer the codec, and voice class tenant, that will also add the tenant 1 configuration there. DTMF relay, RTP and TE. There are multiple ways to handle DTMF. One is like RTP and TE, basically in-band DTMF. When you press some DTMF keys, that will be passed through the audio channel itself. That's called RTP and TE or in-band DTMF. Out of band means you will be establishing a separate SIP message, like a notification message that will show you a separate message in the debug as well. Then you are enabling SRTP and no WAD, no voice activity detection. So that's for the first dial peer. Then let's look into the second dial peer. Dial peer voice to VoIP. Description, outgoing to Tilio. So that makes sense, right? This is outgoing to Tilio. Then destination pattern, that means what number they have, anything. .t means anything. This time this will not be considered because we are forcing everything into DPG2, right? So this will be considered. You need to have that. So destination pattern, this, oh no, okay, this would not be considered. I'll tell you why it is not considered. RTP payload, same. Session protocol SIP version 2. Session destination target aj-tilio03.pstn.tilio.com. So make sure you customize this when you're copy pasting from here. I have used my Tilio destination. So I need to send this to Tilio, right? The way I can identify my Tilio using Tilio termination URI. That's where I added that Tilio termination URI here. Voice class codec 1. Then voice class tenant 2. So the tenant 2 is basically our configuration for Tilio side. That's where I have voice class tenant 2, DTMF relay, RTP and T and SRTP. So these two will make sure a complete call from team side towards PSTN. Okay. So we'll copy this. Well, let's also discuss third one and then we'll copy paste one go. So dial pair voice 3 VoIP, which is basically a call coming from the PSTN towards Teams. So that's the 3. Incoming from Tilio. Okay. And then session protocol SIP version 2. Destination DPG4. We are forcing that to destination DPG4. That means I need to point out to this. Then incoming called number pattern map 1. So this is the key factor here. Based on this, the call will be accepted. So incoming called pattern map 1. So if you look at the pattern map 1 that we have defined, that's our team's DID number. So any number for teams, we will be adding this. So any customer who calls any team's DID numbers, all those calls will be accepted based on our dial peer 3. Okay. That is the meaning of this one. Incoming call E160 pattern map 1. Then voice class codec 1. Then 10 and 2. This is from the Telio side. So Telio side, I'll always mention 10 and 2. And that's it. Now the fourth one, this one, call going towards teams. So description, outbound to teams. So it's going outbound. Then same commands here. The thing is sip.pstnhub.microsoft.com 5061. This is a SIP destination for, the same SIP destination within the Microsoft Teams side. Destination pattern map. So it will not consider here. Okay. So let's do a slight modification here. I'll come back to that. This command will not be considered at all, but still will make it a little more generic. Voice class codec 1, voice class SIP 10 and 1. Again, it's all 10 and 1 configuration, the teams related configuration. SIP options keep alive, profile 15. So we created an options keep alive profile, right? Which is this. Where is that? Yes. Voice class SIP options keep alive 15, and we configured including the SIP profile. So this 15 I am dedicating towards the team side. So when options keep alive are there, we will be using that particular elements inside that configuration. Okay, DTMF relay RTP and T, SRTP, fax protocol none, and no voice activity detection. Now if you look at this, the destination peers, right, here 2 and 4, that's that's an outgoing direction. So 2, we are using destination pattern dot T. So instead of destination pattern dot T, what I'll do is there is something called destination E164 pattern map. I will add it there. Destination, this is optional, pattern map 1. So which pattern map I will be using here? Of course 2. That's the PSTN numbers, right? These are the PSTN numbers. So let me just add it here, then I'll explain. So why I'm saying this will not be considered, because you already know the session target. This is your destination URI, and you are forcing, when calls are coming through the dial peer 1, you are forcing that to dial peer 2, and you're saying you don't consider any number. If the call hits on the cube based on dial peer 1, you will look into the session target of dial peer 2 and send it. So this time you're not processing the digit, or you're not checking what number it is while sending the call out. So this is an optional command. You just accept the call, look at the number, what number is this, based on that you accept. Once you accept, no more further digit check, you just force that to the second one. That's the reason I'm saying even if you don't add this, things will work out, but I will keep it as a standard template just to make sense. This is an outbound thing, destination pattern. Similar to that for 3 and 4. When call comes through the pattern map 1, those are my numbers within the teams. You force that to Microsoft Teams side. Okay. You don't do further digit check. So this one, the destination map, this wouldn't be considered because you already got the destination here and you are forcing that destination in the dial peer 3 itself. So the second digit processing will not be considered. So those are the extra few commands we need now. So I can copy paste that. Is the session active? No. So duplicate.
So AJ, if
Yep.
that command is added, it has no value as of now.
No value as of now. We can remove it once we configure it. We can play around. We can remove it and see what happens.
So this is one, like, between MS Team to PSTN, considering fact we have CUSM involved in here as the third one, and we wanted to bifurcate traffic between CUSM and Teams.
Yes.
In those cases.
Yes. In those cases also, let me tell you this. So let's say a different topology like SBC here. Teams here, and you have UCM here and PSTN. If this is your topology means, again, you look into the direction where you need to send. There'll be one inbound call leg here, then one here, let's say 2, then our 3 and 4. Okay, now for CUCM perspective, there'll be one in this direction. Oh, sorry, let's say 11. Okay, then 12, 13, 14. You can design this way. I mean, you are having a dedicated dial pair for Teams related outgoing and dedicated dial pair for CUCM related outgoing. I always prefer this way of designing it so that you don't get confused. So in this case also you can force it. I mean, in the first dial pair you can force 2. In the 11th dial pair you can force 12 using DPG. In the 13th dial pair you can force 14, and the third dial pair you can force 4. So that logic will still work here. But there are possibility that you don't need these separate because PSTN side is common. So if you don't need these two, then you cannot force that always, right? Okay, even in that case you can force it. When call comes through team side using this dial pair, there'll be a dial pair to map teams. You force it to 2. When calls are coming through this dial pair, which is 11, then you force it to 2 here again. When calls are coming to 3, that's a confusion. Okay, so when calls are coming in this direction, where you need to send, whether you need to send to Teams or CUCM, that's some decision you need to make. So in that case, you cannot use that DPG here. The moment you put DPG, it'll only consider one outgoing. If you provide 4 there, all calls will go to 4. If you provide 14 there, all call will goes to team CUCM side. So in that case, what we do is, of course, your teams will have a DID series range. CUCM will have a DID series range, and you have a pattern map here, pattern map, and another pattern map here. So in this third dial pair, you don't use any DPG, then use pattern map. Okay, so based on that pattern map, not here, there is nothing in this. Here will be one pattern map. In the fourth, you will have a pattern map, and 14 also you have a pattern map. So when the call hits 3, it will check, okay, if the pattern map is matching with this, it goes to Teams. If the pattern map is matching CUCM, it goes to CUCM. In that case, it makes sense to check what is the destination number. Is that clear? Or again, it's too much of complication.
No, got it. Got
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
That's
again,
what I was
yeah, yes, there are different ways to design dial pairs. You can always check dial destination number and route it, but this is an easiest way. I mean, this is an ideal way of routing
Yeah,
things.
it's
You-
a simplified way.
Yeah.
The complexity comes and then we have.
Yeah,
this
so you
next.
create that logic first, how you want to design, and then look for, okay, draw this always, okay, these are the legs, and this is the way how I need to route. Then you get that picture always, then build that in the command. All right.
So AJ, a shared DID between Teams and call manager is not supported, right?
I'm sorry.
A shared DID between
Yes,
shared on Teams and on call manager is not supported,
it
right?
is. It is. So I'll tell you that scenario. If you wanted to explore that, there is a video about this, integrate Microsoft Teams and CUCM with direct routing cube. There's a whole 6 hours of webinar continuous that deploys a shared calling feature. So let me show you that scenario. So what happens, imagine you are in the migration phase, you are moving things from CUCM to Teams, but during that migration phase, there will be a hybrid approach. I mean, a user is existing in Teams, a user is existing in CUCM as well as the same user will be existing in Teams, or maybe you are existing in Teams, your colleagues are in CUCM. Like we are not doing one day migration, right? Gradual migration. So we need to have a setup where the same user, let's draw a new one. Okay. Teams and UCM. Of course, PSTN is here. This is your SBC. So you need to have a situation where a user, let's say user A, and user A here, not that A by the way. So when call comes in, let's assume a DID number also, +1 214 888 3759. You assign same DID for two users in both direction, +1 214 888 3759. When this call comes in, a destination number, if you're doing a Teams to CUCM CUCM to Teams migration, and this is your migration path, you are going from CUCM to Teams, your preferred architecture will be always the calls are hitting the CUCM side. Okay. Once it hits CUCM side, there will be an IP phone which can ring. It can be an extension or DID. Let's go with the DID mapping at this point to make it simpler. Imagine that phone is ringing. The requirement is that at the same time, the Teams client should also ring. So how can you extend the same call into Teams? So we use the single number reach configuration here, SNR. Single number reach means while your phone is ringing, you also make one more destination rings. So in that case, in the single number reach, you say, okay, please ring one another number, which is, let me say, 88 214 888 3759. So you are saying when your phone is ringing, you also ring one more destination. That destination is 88. 88 is my own prefix. And in call manager, we can have a route pattern. There's a concept called route pattern. So I'll create a route pattern with 88 214 888 3759. If it is a series of number, of course, that will be like 214 888 and .xxxx. That way I can create. Then that route pattern. So I will have a route pattern. That route pattern destination, I'll say, go to the same cube. So the cube will receive 88 214 888 3759, right? You can send it that way, or you can even send without 88. Anyway, so within the cube, you create one new dial pair to accept that call, which will be incoming called number 88 ... So that means any call comes to the queue with 88 ... The queue will accept it, and then you create one another dial pair towards Teams, and you force that. Let's say the dial pair is 88. No, let's not go into that 88. Let's say 21. That's the dial pair name. So in the DPG, you can use 21. And also you can do a translation when that number goes out. Remove the 88 using the same zip profile manipulation. Remove that 88 and send +1 214 888 3759. So in that case, what happened? You made that hybrid scenario possible. A call comes to that DID. It directly goes to CUCM. The IP phone corresponding to that phone number will be ringing, or the user CSF or whatever Jabber profile or whatever you have will be ringing. Then at the same time, it also triggered one more call leg with a prefix 88. That 88 I have used just to identify and route it well. Then it sends to the SBC. So within the SBC, I'll have another dial pair to accept that hybrid call, send that to the CUCM side using the same dial pair. So this way, same call will be ringing on both sides. This is called simultaneous ring. And we have done that scenario completely from CUCM and Teams in this webinar. You can go through it, including the dial plan design is there, how we need to route and all those things. It's little lengthy, but it is like a normal video demonstration. Anytime when you have something, just go ahead and watch it. Hope that is clear. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Now, there is also one question. Can I prefer Teams as the first guy? I mean, once you complete all the migration, then nothing, right? You don't need all these dial pair. You send all those calls directly into Teams itself. But can I do a reverse of this? First, I will send everything into. That's also interesting. First, I will send all the calls into Teams side. Okay, so of course, Teams phone will be ringing. And in the Teams phone, there is a concept called ring also ring. we will cover that, by the way, that feature. That's a feature section, user facing feature section. Ring also ring. This is similar to that single number reach in Cisco. That means while your phone is ringing, you can also ring maybe your mobile phone, maybe a colleague inside your office, or destination number. So it's all your optional. So if you configure ring also ring with another number, let's say 99, then 214 888 3759. That's the destination you configure. Then you also configure a voice routing policy to match this using regular expression. And in that you say, okay, this call please send to the SBC. So the SBC will see a call coming with 99 prefix and the number. Then of course you can do translations inside the cube, remove that 99 and then create another dial pair to send the call straight into CUCM. In that case, the call will be, you remove the 99 from here and convert into that E164. Or if you have an extension in CUCM, use that translation there. You can do different type of translation. And then +1 214 888 3759 will hit the call manager. If you have a phone, that will be ringing. So you can do both approach. You prefer Teams as the first entity. All call goes will go to Teams. Teams will decide the routing and then come back to CUCM as an extension. But in the migration approach, we don't usually do that because your CUCM and SBC is already integrated. So you don't need to deviate that integration first. First, you make sure a hybrid call is working. Make sure all users are migrated. Once all users are migrated, you decom the dial pair towards CUCM and send that directly into the team side. All right, so let me go back to the Q&A. I see some question. Any reason why we could not combine trust point for MS and add all this? Okay, good question. I tried that and I failed. So his question was this. We have these 3 certificates, right? The DigiCert G, CA, G2, G3. We can open all these in line by line, section by section in Notepad++ and create just one bundle and import that bundle. I tried that. It was not successful. So I just went for different trust store approach. Even if you look at the configuration side of mine, and where is it? I created that one, AJ direct routing cert bundle with, I have added all the CA, CA, G2, G3 I have added, but for some reason the TLS connection did not come up. Then I switched back to the individual thing, then it came up. So that's the answer for that. Technically you can try that, but for my attempt it failed. For Tilio trust point associated showed only CA, okay, G2, G3, yeah. So that's also a valid question. Let's open the Tilio certificate. So Tilio certificate, if you double click and open, you will only see in the certification path only the root CA. But other thing is also included in the certificate. If you open the Notepad content, you can see that previously there was this thing, right? Let's see, where is it? We need to download again. I modified the one that I have downloaded. Let's download it once again. Okay, it's here. So this is a fresh one I downloaded. If you open this in Notepad++, see, they have DigiCert root CA, then G2 and G3 encoded in one file. You can split this into, copy this, paste it in a new file and save it as a .crt, and then you can see G2. If you do the same thing for G3, you can see that. But Tilio said you guys need to use like this, so we just followed that. That's it. But it is included in the certificate content. But CLI, even when you open that certificate, right, you don't see G2 or G3. It's only says the CA, no G2, G3. Hope that answers. And then going on, can we assign public IP address on the Cube interface, which can be used media as well, media bypass and local media optimization? We can assign public IP address to the Cube, provided your network team has to approve it. Usually somebody is on unmute. I'm getting a background noise. Yeah. So usually what happens, how you get a public IP address? Let's think about an premise based cube. So you have an SBC here, and this is on premise. Now, of course, you will have a firewall, an enterprise firewall. All the public IP address thing all will be terminating on the firewall. From the firewall, you're actually forwarding that to the private IP address of your cube. 172, let's say 16x.x is your private IP address of your SBC. From the firewall, there'll be a public IP address like 1.1.1.1, then force that to the SBC. That is the ideal approach. But and how the firewall is getting the public IP address? There'll be a carrier installed switch. Okay, from there, carrier will route all their public IP address here. You take a cable and connect it. That's how the carrier provide a public IP address map to the firewall. Then you can also do a direct assignment like this. Then you can assign a public IP address to the SBC. That will make things simpler, but it's not that much common. Technically, yeah, it is possible you can assign, then do that way of things. But even for media bypass and local media optimization, you can go with this. Our ribbon we have done sorry, not ribbon, audio course we have done media bypass and local media optimization using the similar cloud based image, right? So the same thing is applicable to the cube. Personally, I haven't done that media optimization and bypass for cube because that becomes a little more complicated. It is possible to, I need to see whether it supports cube supports or not. You can check the official documentation where SBC Cisco CUBE supports media bypass and local media optimization. If it is yes, of course you can do it. For that, you don't need to directly assign public IP address to the queue. This approach is also a possible scenario. Then, like in AC, Anshul, what is that AC? Audio course, okay, sorry. Audio course SBC, we have an option to set conditions in message manipulation this cube. Okay, so the cube message manipulation is nothing but the zip profile that we have seen. These type of zip profile we customized it. So this is that manipulation thing. So if you look at any line, you can make it out like response any, zip header, audio attribute, modify. So you are modifying the audio attribute. Then the two inverted commas is actually your match column regular expression and change column regular expression. So this is a regular expression match and this is a regular expression change. The same approach we have done in audio audio codes. This is the CLI, cube way of doing it. So that's the zip profile. Answer is zip profile. Is that clear? All right.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we completed the dial pair configuration also. So let's look at where is our config. Okay. So till here, let me, the no WAD configuration was not taken. So we need to replace, re-add again. Start session. After all this, it has to work also, right? We don't know whether it will work or not. Sometimes it will throw a lot of errors. We'll see. Config T. Paste it. The last command was not taken, so I just re-add it again. Yeah. So all the dial pairs are configured. Now, one important thing is like our chicken egg situation. We defined the dial pair DPG in the first place, but we weren't added the dial pair preference there. Like we had no dial pair at that point. Now we have all the dial pairs in place, so you need to force that dial pair preferences in the DPG. So you can copy paste this. So this will finish the configuration thing. We will save all the configuration. So hopefully things would work. Let's make some call. The end section, after the end section, you can skip. Okay. So only till here is needed. So there is no syslog viewer natively for Cisco, but what we have is something called TranslatorX, which is a third-party tool. You can download TranslatorX to collect, review the logs in Cube. That is also given here, TranslatorX. Go ahead and download it, and then you will get something like this. Once you, download and install it, you will get the TranslatorX then you can paste all your SIP logs here. This will generate the ladder diagram and stuff like that. I'll minimize our configuration template and go back to Teams to see what's the status of SBC. So let's check voice direct routing. Okay, so the TLS connectivity is active. That means it's fine. Options ping status and all will come after a while, so you don't need to worry about that. And also the exclamatory thing, right, that will disappear when you make some test calls. So here is a truth moment. Let's make a call. Oh, it does not exist. How come? The page you're looking does not exist? It is existing. This is weird. I'll refresh the Teams section anyway. So we can make a call and see what happens. If it goes well, even in that case, we will collect the debugs. So usually when I configure Cube, the first attempt will always fail. Then we'll have to go through the logs and identify things. I'll open up the client machine, which is Will Smith Teams client. So in the Will Smith Teams client, let us clean up all these. Good. Then search for Teams. App settings. You can also reset because new configuration need to. I mean, we configured it yesterday on the team, so this would be reflected by now. But still, as I say, first. Oh, sorry. I click repair. I was planning to click reset. It's okay. Okay, so login. Anything happen? I don't know why this is not showing. This is interesting. Can I go to my SBC 1 and 2? Okay, only when I try to open SBC 03, it's not going there. Anyway, we'll come back to that. We'll look into that. So we'll log into Will Smith. This app only.
AJ, so in the meanwhile, is it me to configure the dial pair group, move ahead without configuring it and do the required configuration on the dial pair itself?
I lost you in between. Tell me that again.
Is it mandatory to configure the dial pair group?
Yeah, because I'm forcing. In this case, it's still fine because we have the destination also configured, right? Let me take that. So if you see, using this, the call will be accepted because I have a pattern map here, incoming pattern map. So any DID number that Teams user dials, this call will be accepted using this dial pair. Then, since we have a destination E164 pattern map, which is like a destination number matching, and it goes there. But when you have destination DPG, it will say, okay, you take it, whatever number, I don't care. You force that to this dial pair destination. So it goes to this one. In my case, you can, these are optional. Either I can remove the destination or I can remove the DPG, but I prefer to have a DPG way so that you take the call, no other discussion, no other manipulations. You send the call to the destination of your second dial pair.
Okay.
Yeah. Now coming back to the user, let me make a call to my number and see whether it goes or not. Wow, that's nice. It came in. I can answer. So there'll be an issue, I'll tell you. Hello? There is a one-way audio issue. Let me disconnect this, okay. When I say through Teams, I can hear on my phones, but whenever I say something here, it's not coming to my headphone. So I told you there is a manipulation thing we actually intentionally skipped. So where we'll see that. So an outbound call is working. there is no audio. We'll troubleshoot that. That audio we intentionally kept there just to show you what happens in the manipulation side. Now let's try an inbound call and see what happens there. Same number, 614-500-6235. Oh, my ISD pack got expired. So anybody from US who can call this number? Can anyone help? Hello?
I can.
Yeah, please, Sandeep. +1 641 500 6235.
+1
641
Mhm.
500
500.
6235. Yeah, calls are coming in. Let me answer. Hello. Can you say something? Okay, you can disconnect. Was that audible?
Your audio coming in.
Yeah, but US is not coming back. So both direction calls are working. The only issue what we have seen right now is the audio from the remote side is not getting relayed back to the Microsoft Teams side. So let us do a debug and see what's going wrong inside that. We know the answer. This is a cosmetic thing. Okay, I mean the Teams interface is not loading. It could be some cosmetic issue. It'll fix after a while. But if you see these type of issues in browser, there is also a way to identify what's going wrong. I mean, at least a small hint. You can open, I mean, right click on the Firefox browser, or it's available in Chrome as well. Then go to inspect and then go to network tab. Then you trigger one action. So whatever action now you are doing on the web page will be tracked under here. Then let's look for some 404 or some series errors. So I'll just click here on the SBC03. So these are the actions coming in, and I see a 500 error here, right? So let's open that 500 error and you can look into the response. Okay. Sometimes the response will say a reason, but here it is interesting. It says error in server. So what is that error in server? God knows. It's a Teams related thing. It will be fixed after a while, or you can log out and log in. Anyway, things are working. So the rule of thumb is if it is working, don't touch. Okay, now let's try to fix that audio issue. I'm sorry guys, it's already 10 o'clock. Another 10-15 minutes we'll fix it and then move on. So to debug it, is it still active? No problem. Yeah, let me also do one thing. Reset. No, duplicate session. This is 01. What I'm gonna do is I need to collect one complete running configuration of this. Then I will upload to our learning portal so that when you guys are configuring, you can always check my running configuration. So to do that, go to change settings, logging, all session output. Then whatever you see on the line will be replicated. So advanced Microsoft training doc. Okay. Microsoft Teams direct routing cube configuration. I have one backup already. I'll do one more backup. 07 Jan 2026. Okay. So all session output fine. Then you apply on one command, terminal length 0, and then show run. Whatever you have typed will be stored inside that text file. Now you can go back, change settings, logging, none, click OK. So in that file, let me open up that file. It's in D drive. Cube config. So this is that folder. And if you open up this, you will see the entire configuration of my router. So you can, if you are doing and if you end up having some issues, this is the working configuration we have practically seen, right? Oh, we have to apply that fix also. Okay. Then we'll take. So this is the reference point. You can refer this. I will upload this into our learning portal. I have already uploaded the working one. You can see Microsoft Teams direct routing cube configuration reference ages cube. So this is what my cube I have tested in the past, that is uploaded here. Today's configuration also I will upload after a while. Okay, now coming back to this cube, now let's do a small debug. So in the cube, there is a way to collect debugs. You can display that on the console, but sometimes it won't work well. So what I do is config t logging buffered, then put a value here like 1 lakh. So you're creating a buffer memory to keep the logs. That's called logging buffered. That's the size of the buffer in a byte. Then you also need to see what type of log level you want. For example, 0 to 7 values are there. 7 is the debugging. So you can enable that debugging level. Then only proper logs will come. So 7. Done. Now there is a buffer called log buffer. You can type show log there. All the logs will be stored here. As of now, there are nothing. But if you enable a debug, things will come here. Okay. So let's say debug cc zip messages. That's the command for enabling cc zip messages. Now you don't see any logs in the console. If you want to see that, there is a command called terminal monitor. Then debugs will come in the console itself. But this is fine. Let that debug goes to the log folder or the log buffer. And let's make an outbound call. The log will be generating there, of course. Let it generate. And I answered the call. Hello, hello, hello. So whatever I speak here, I can hear. There is no return. I'm disconnecting from team side. Done. So we have the proper logs. We would have that logs captured by now. So you can disable all the debug by undebug all or you all. You all will disable all debugs. Now the debugs will be there. How we collect it. So you can reset the terminal again and also reset scroll back. Then type show log. Yeah. So you got all the logs here. Copy all. Can copy to notepad also. There is a copy all method. Copy all to clipboard. Go back to translator X and paste in here. What happens? Okay. So you get that logs here and then click call list. So there is a call and then generate filter. Even if you don't see the call, just generate diagram. That will show you, only successful calls, you will see that call list in the call list section. The number in the call list. If it's a failed call, maybe failing at the initial handshake itself, you don't see it. So in that case, you generate a diagram, you will see the messages and accordingly you can troubleshoot it. Since I have the complete call here, I am troubleshooting that audio issue. I can selectively generate a filter. So this will apply a filter for one call. If you have multiple call, I have only one, that's fine. Then click generate diagram. This will give you the ladder diagram. So if you look at that 52, you know that it's your Microsoft site. So you can add a title here. This is the Teams and sbc03.ajcollab.com, and both of them are your SBC. That is cube. They represent this way. That's okay. Okay. It's cube private IP address. That's okay. Cube is initiating it. Here, since their destination is SBC03, that's why it is showing here. But both of these guys are actually your cube. Then this is your PSTN. Okay. Now, if you look at that invite, an invite is coming in and immediately SBC send 100 trying. That invite is forwarded to Tilio and they got 100 trying and they got a 183 session progress, and you pass that 183 session progress into the team side. So usually the SDP content, we have a command, ignore the SDP content on 183 session progress. So I'm not sure why it is still there, but anyway, so let's look into that. And also there is a 200 OK. If 183 session progress is not processing the SDP, then next option will be 200 OK. In both you have SDP. So let's open any of the SDP and see what are those content. I'll copy this 183 session progress in one site. Let's also copy 200 OK. So in these both message, I have the response Okay. Response. Fine. So let's look into that. So in the response, when SBC says CIN is equal to, okay, this is the right IP address. We don't see another here. 121 is the right IP address. Okay, fine. This is also fine. Okay. In the 183 session progress, okay, both case it is fine. So in this direction, it is okay. Now let's open the initial invite, which is coming from the team side. So in the team side, the IP is 52. That's also fine. That's the transport relay IP, Microsoft Teams IP. And we'll see what's going out from the cube towards outbound. I see a problem here. So let's open this invite, which is the invite going out to Teams. Sorry, going out to PSTN. This one, okay, this guy. And if you look at the SDP here, okay, it's giving 172.21.1.6. So basically means my cube is informing to Leo that please send your media into 172.21.1.6. Is that a valid configuration? The PSTN guys will never understand what is 172.21.1.6 because it's a internet-based SIP trunking. There is no local device which can send that traffic. Since I am exchanging this in this way, the Twilio will never understand where should I send the media to. It's always say this local IP address. So media will fail at that point. There won't be any media. Twilio is actually sending the media, but that is going towards my private IP address. But from Twilio, they cannot reach the private IP address. So it will go blank. So that's where we are not able to hear. I mean, when I speak, he is able to my phone, I'm able to hear here on this phone because that's coming from Teams to the side. Okay, but when the Twilio guy is speaking or the PSTN guy is speaking, they are establishing media into this, but instead we need to tell them, okay, hey, you don't need to send it here. You need to send it to my public IP address here. So we need to create a mechanism to bring our public IP address in the CIN so that both media will be working. Is that issue clear? Yes, no, maybe? Okay.
Yes. What do we see in 183 session progress SDP?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
What do we see on PST and 183 session progress? The return message.
Yeah, this is between Cube and Teams. Right? Cube and Teams, it's still fine.
Other side.
Oh, at the other side. Okay. That's on the PSTN side. They will share there the 168 or something IP. What is it? See in Twilio Media. So this is their media gateway IP address.
Yeah.
That is fine. Twilio is fine. Yeah, Twilio is saying, okay, your audio you send to my media server. I'm fine. So that's the reason my media is reaching there. But when Twilio is responding to the cube, instead of sending to the cube public IP address, it's going to the private IP address of the cube. That's where we have that audio issue. Cool. Now, to fix that, we will go back to our, please mute guys. There is an echo coming in. Guys, if you can drop if you want. Anyway, we are recording the session, so I'll handle that recording. Let's just finish this. Okay, so where is that pending thing we need to configure? So Twilio bundle. Yeah, so we written something pending here on the Twilio side. So if you look at this zip profile, I have intentionally removed these lines. So these lines basically mean response any, request any. That means in request and response both. In my case, this is an invite, right? There is an invite going on. So invite is a request. Under trying 183, all those are response. So in the invite, so that means this line, request any request, invite, cancel by whatever. Okay. Connection info modify. That means modify the connection info. This is the match column. That means if it is 172.21.1.6, if you look at our debug logs, our connection in exactly in the same format. It's a regular expression. Okay. INIPv4 172.21.1.6. You have the same thing here, IN IPv4 172.21.1.6. That's the match column. This is your match column. Change that into the public IP address of the cube, 20.169.230.121. So you are informing on the SIP profile 21, which is related to Twilio. Wherever you have Twilio dial peer, we have added this. We said, okay, you need to modify your private IP address into public so that things will be working. So this is one option. I mean, this is same for all other request any header, audio connection info modify, some CIN or audio connection modify info. These are the two ways we can handle. I mean, some carriers will process this and we will see CIN. Both of them are actually attacking the CIN section of your SIP message. So in the request, I am doing that and also doing the same changes on the response as well. Okay. So once you add these, our audio will start working. We will replace the private IP address with the public IP address. That is one possible way. And there is one more easy way, but that's not applicable for all the cases, only in Twilio. So Twilio is having a settings called symmetric RTP. So they can detect where the actual RTP is coming from other than the one which is negotiated on the SIP messages. So that is called this symmetric RTP. Twilio will send RTP to the destination negotiated on the STP. This settings is considered to be more secure. Twilio will send RTP to the destination negotiated in the STP. This settings will consider to be more secure and therefore recommended. So basically means, is there any other explanation here? Yeah, basically means they will send the media to the one where they will detect, okay, dynamically detect where the media is coming from. They can do that, right? They will see media is coming from my cube IP address when they do their, I mean, within their system. They will look into that where the media is coming from instead of which is there negotiated in the SIP messages. So if they find that there is a difference, okay, negotiated one as an IP, private IP address, but actually I'm receiving a media from this IP. So let's return that media into the same call leg. So if I enable this symmetric RTP on the Twilio side, things will work, but that is not always the case, right? You cannot go back to your PSTN and say that, hey, do you have symmetric RTP option within your setup? If they have, they will, but let's fix it from our end instead of relying that on the Twilio side. Okay. You can test it out. I can just show you. Okay. Just save it. But this is not the actual fix I wanted to implement. Okay. I can make a call and then both echo will be, both side call will work at this point. Let's see if it works or not. Calls coming in. Answer. Hello.
Hello.
Now I have both audio. That's one ideal, not ideal, one fix from the PSN, but I'm not okay for that. So let's say, no, you don't fix it in the Twilio side. That's not our ideal way. We will fix it from the cube itself. So to fix from cube, all we need to apply this on the profile 21. So let's go back to the configuration and edit the profile 21. This is expired. User 01. Okay. So profile 21 config T. Okay, 1 second. Can we export this? There is no export. Or 1 second. File. It's okay. So profile 21. Added this. So that translate the private IP address of my cube into the public IP address towards Twilio direction. And keep an eye on this. The current issue what we have is in the invite. What is it? So in the invite, this is the invite going towards Twilio. Right now we are seeing a private IP address. I'm going to close this, enable that debug once again, then collect that. I'll make the call and collect it. So To collect the logs again, our existing log will be in the show log section. Show log. Oh, let's do one thing. Then since the logs are there, I will keep it for our references. Okay. Reset terminal. Clear scroll back. So let's capture the log also. Logging settings, all session output. Zip logs with audio issues .txt. Terminal length 0. Show log. So this captures all the logs inside that file. Now you can type change settings, logging, none, apply. Fine. Let's clear all the logs. So to clear the logs, you have a command. Before collecting the new logs, let's clear it. This clear log. So you don't see any logs now in the show log command. See, it's empty. The buffer is empty now. Enable one more debug command now. Debug cczip messages, cczip messages. Done. Let me make a call, an outbound call. Logs will be generating there. Also coming in. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Now I have the echo coming side, I mean both direction. We'll see the change in the message. You all will disable all the debug. Now I can type terminal length 0, clear all the screen, reset terminal. Here scroll back, show log. Okay, you have the logs here. Right click, copy all to clipboard. Then you can paste it in the same this thing itself, and then click clear and open. So it clears all the old logs and then open the new one. Again, you can see the call filter here, generate filter, and your focus should be on that invite going towards Twilio side. So if you look at this in the CIN section, you have modified this public IP address. Let's copy this into this, and if you compare previous one and this one, here the CIN shows a proper public IP address of your cube. That's where Twilio can send media back to me properly. So this is the fix for that. That's how you manage. Now I'll do one thing, all the logs that we have collected, right, just for your reference, we will be adding it here. Okay, cube debug logs, cube debug logs. Okay, so I will add it here. After the call I will upload, and there will be a link. When you go there, you can see all the logs, the failed logs and the success logs. And just to test on the other side, can you call me back again from that number? 731236. Let's test it whether you're also able to hear both directional audio. Can you? Are you there? Ah, okay.
Yeah, Colin.
Yeah. Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can.
Yes,
All right.
we can.
Yeah.
I can. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So things are working fine. The new cube configuration what we have currently, I will be uploading into the same link. You can go there and get all the configuration down. I mean, you can correlate if you have any mistakes or anything. So that's how a complete cube implementation with direct routing. And this could be common at these days because most of the customers are doing the Teams migration. So on the Teams migration, one important decision what they make is, can we keep our voice gateways and cube instead of investing on audio codes or ribbon? If you can use the cube, use it for until the next renewal. Then after the renewal, based on your strategy, you may change it or keep it. Anyway, it's a stable product. By the way, Cube has went through a lot of years and it's a stable product. There won't be any other issues. Once you configure it, things will work. And to configure, you have to take little extra effort. And this is the first time I'm seeing a complete configuration went well in the first approach itself. That's good. Our template is so good now. All right. So let's, any questions on this, guys? No questions. Let me see. Okay. Is there any way to decode secure RTP and Wireshark listen to the RTP stream? Yes, it is. That is our next session. RTP will try that. Okay. Because Teams uses not an actual RTP. There is a different encoded form of it that we will see in our troubleshooting class. In the troubleshooting, we'll see the logs and also the packet captures and how to go through the PCAPs and stuff. That we will see tomorrow, and tomorrow will be that. We'll see. I'm not guaranteeing that we cannot completely decode. Sometimes there will be an issue, but there is a way to capture the SSL certificates and then import that certificate into the Wireshark and decode it. We'll try that tomorrow. Any other questions, guys, on the cube? If no, I will revise what we have done and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so we started with the cube deployment, cube configuration today. What is the dial pad? Yeah. So started installing the Microsoft certificate in 3 different trust store, 1, 2, 3. And there was a question, can we merge everything into one and then go with one? You try that. I mean, now you have a working scenario. Just remove the G2, G3, merge everything into root C and then try it. Sometimes it may work. I have tried once, it did not. Then I went with this approach. Until you have a trust store that is completed. Then once you create all those trust stores, you started configuring the cube. So you added all the basic configuration required for the cube, like your voice service, VoIP, trusted IPs and other stuff. Then you created 2 tenants, Teams tenant and PSTN tenant. Then added the dial peers, and you link the dial peer in this way so that any call comes through this direction, it goes to PSTN. Anything that comes from the PSTN, it goes to Teams. And you made all your bidirectional call and found it's working. All right. That being said, we are done for today. We will see the troubleshooting and few other sections tomorrow. And we have a couple of classes for the Teams telephony, like user-facing features. That's one thing, and the troubleshooting, 2 classes. Then we will be starting our Copilot and other stuff. That will be comparatively easy. There is no dependency for Copilot and stuff. It's just an interface where you develop your chat bot and other things. All right. So that's it for today. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.